Hey, Pinellas County. Otis Dixon here, Clearwater High School graduate, class of 1996, and a proud former USF Bull. Back in the day, sports was everything to me. Now you can relive the excitement with Pinellas County Schools TV Classic Game of the Week. Watch some of the best high school players in the county leave it all on the field and the courts. Don't miss it Thursday night on PCS TV and Pinellas County School YouTube channel. You don't want to miss this classic.
You are an all-star. You're one of the best at what you do. What you do is play football. You can run, you can catch, you can throw, you can tackle, you can score. Tonight, Pinellas County's top senior talent takes the field for one final time, hoping for one more moment in the spotlight, one more moment of glory. It's the 1997 Palms Pinellas All-Star Football Classic, and it's next.
From Jack White Stadium at Clearwater High School, Time Warner's season finale of the high school football game of the week features the finest senior football players in Pinellas County, teeing it up in the 4th annual Palms Pinellas All-Star Football Classic. Hello again, everyone. Brian Ungst here along with Rich Hollenberg, welcoming you to Clearwater High School, where tonight the best football players, senior football players in Pinellas County, will go after pride, North-South County pride, but Rich, also a good opportunity for exposure for a lot of the athletes who maybe weren't as highly publicized this year.
And it's been that way ever since they started this All-Star game 3 years ago. This is the 4th year of it. It keeps getting better every year. A lot of kids from some schools that maybe didn't get a lot of attention during the regular season and playoffs will have a chance to showcase their skills tonight, and that's what a lot of these college recruiters are out here for. Word is some 30 to 40 colleges are represented right here tonight in Clearwater.
Well, the North squad's led by Sam Roper, the head coach at Seminole High School. He's sort of the founding father of this game. He's been the chairman of the organizing committee. He's going to get a chance to showcase some really good skill position players. We'll take a look at Brian Riley from Clearwater Central Catholic, an outstanding running back.
Absolutely. This kid was number 2 in the county this year in rushing, number 1 in the county as a junior. He is probably pound for pound the best running back in Pinellas County that no one's really mentioned. Everyone talks about it. Teef Austin from Tarpon Springs certainly had an outstanding year, but Brian Riley from CCC is one of those kids from a smaller private school that maybe not a lot of people got to see this year. You'll get a load of him tonight.
Well, also outstanding defensive athletes in the defensive backfield. We'll look at Alan Lewis, the outstanding cornerback from Clearwater High School.
And playing on his very home turf tonight, which is a good sign for Clearwater Tornadoes, who made it to the playoffs again this year, much on the strength of their defense, and the defense was led by Alan Lewis, a 3-year starter, the best Division I prospect possibly on the field tonight, arguably the best cover corner in the county.
Al Davis from Gibbs High School, he is the coach of the South squad. He's got another player who hasn't gotten a lot of exposure, Casey Moore, the big fullback out of St. Pete Catholic.
Well, we talk about Brian Riley from CCC in the North County. Casey Moore is his counterpart in the South County, and you said big. That's an understatement. 6'3", 240, and he runs like a tailback. That's the impressive thing about him. We'll see him getting a lot of carries tonight as well.
Now, key for the South squad could be the play of the interior line. Casey Loesch, the big two-way lineman of St. Pete High, could be a key performer.
Well, we talk about a Casey on offense. We'll talk about a Casey on defense. Casey Loesch, a 3-year starter for Dusty Boylston's Green Devil squad, led the team to the playoffs this year for the first time in a decade. He is another hotly recruited Division I prospect, and he certainly will have an impact on the offensive and defensive lines tonight.
It's North Pinellas County versus South Pinellas County, the Palms Pinellas All-Star Football Classic, coming your way next, right here on Channel 7. Brian Unks, Rich Hollenberg, Eric Keaton back with you here at Jack White Stadium at Clearwater High School, the 4th Annual Palms Pinellas All-Star Football Classic. Let's go down to referee John Taylor for the opening coin toss.
We'll call you black. South's wearing white, you call you white. You guys are the visitors. You're going to call the toss. Who's going to call it? You're going to call it the ordinary silver dollars, heads and tails. Call it white in there, loud enough so you can hear it. If I drop it, we're going to do it again. Call it tails. It is heads. You want to toss. You can kick, receive, defend a goal, or defer your choice the second half.
I'd like to defer.
You want to defer. North is one and will defer. You have a choice. You can kick, receive, defend a goal. You want to receive. Which way do you want to kick?
We want to defend the scoreboard.
You want to defend that goal? Kicking this way. Kicking from the clock. Okay, let's put our backs to the goals we're going to defend. We'll show everybody else what we're going to do.
Your officiating crew for tonight's game, the referee is John Taylor. The umpire is Keith Baxter. The head linesman is Gary Dodds. The line judge is Keith Stein. The back judge, Mike Billeris. And the electric clock operator has his hands full tonight, Rich Kenneth Lamb, because the scoreboard here was blown down in a tornado here at the home of the Clearwater Tornadoes about a month ago, so they've got a little portable scoreboard down there.
Talk about a hands-on position for the all-star Kenny Lamb. He's actually down on the field operating the clock from right next to the makeshift scoreboard.
The North is in the darker uniforms, the South in the white. Sam Roper, the head coach from Seminole High School, again, the dean of this game. He is one of the key players that got this game going 4 years ago, and he's got an opportunity now, and a well-deserved opportunity, Rich, to coach this North squad. Al Davis on the opposite side always does a great job of getting his student-athletes into universities. Done a great job at Gibbs High School. Sean King, probably his most notable graduate, the Player of the Year in Conference USA at Tulane as a quarterback this year.
And Gibbs is starting to build a little bit of a program now after struggling the last few years. They've got 5 players in this game, so some good senior talent on that Gibbs Gladiators team.
Number 81, Brian Black, will kick off out of Largo. He's going to be the punter and the place kicker this evening for the North squad. Black kicks it high, and a pretty good kick coming down to the 5-yard line. That's number 20 with the ball. Antonio Newton tried to break it to the outside, and he's gang tackled out about the 19. Let's go down to the sidelines. Our third man on the scene is Eric Keaton.
All right, thanks a lot, Brian. Let's talk a little bit about the field conditions. More than 9.5 inches of rain fell on the Bay Area last week, and that was a record for the month of December. Cooler temperatures moved in on Sunday, hit about 30 degrees, and we know our Bay Area players don't like to play when it's below 40. Let's take a look a bit at the field. We noticed that we've got some soccer games that came in here during the course of the week, and that tore up the field a little bit. There's a little bit of dew on the field. Some players are complaining about planting as well. Now, a little later on, Brian and Rich, I'm also going to talk to some other all-stars, some cheerleaders, and some band members throughout the game, as well as our coaches at halftime back upstairs.
All right. Thank you very much, Eric, and we'll take a look at the field conditions. And Rich, they put a little sand down too, you can see from up here, to help it out. And really, it's not in as bad a shape as it could have been. We had a deluge of rain, and the field in pretty good shape here at Clearwater High School.
Yeah, we probably will see some slipping and some sliding as the game goes on. But Antonio Newton getting the first carry of the game after opening the game with the kickoff return. He's one of the guys that we haven't heard that much of. Gene Gordon's Boca Ciega team did not make the playoffs this year, but he is a good runner, one of the best in the county.
Joe Vaughn, Newton, Moore, the backs, Green, Bryant, and Pollard, the receivers, Loesch, Clark, Wright, Decor, and Bosick, your offensive front for the South squad. 2nd down and 9 after Newton's 1-yard run. Vaughn back to pass on play action. Going to air it out, looking deep downfield for Andrew Rubin, and Rubin cannot come up with it at the 45. Single coverage out there from Desmond Newton. That'll be a good battle the entire evening, Rich. 2 outstanding athletes.
Absolutely. DeAndrew Rubin, the ball was a little bit underthrown for one of the speediest receivers in the county, going up against the solid North defense. Gerald Frazier, Adam Schoenbaum, Mike Maxey, John Saxon, Mark Golden are your linemen. The linebackers, James Glenn from right here at Clearwater, and Frank Wintrich. And the secondary, Clearwater's Alan Lewis, Philip Muzon, Willie Hostin, and Desmond Newton.
3rd down and 9. Backs in the I formation, receiver to either side. Dave Green in at the 1 wide receiver spot. Going to toss the ball back. This is Rashad Moulton trying to get to the outside. Turns it up, and he'll be very close to a first down. It's going to depend on the mark. He is very close. Good gain of 9 yards on 3rd down and 9 for Rashad Moulton.
Rashad Moulton from Lakewood, one of the real electrifying runners in the county this year. 81 rushes, 587 yards, got to the end zone 9 times this season, and he is an exciting player to watch, turning it upfield, very shifty, is able to slide between tacklers, can run it outside and inside with equal efficiency, and at 5'11", 170, he's also a tough runner as well.
Al Davis apparently going to gamble here. It's 4th down and about a foot from just inside their own 30-yard line.
Why not? It's an all-star game.
Toss the ball back. And it looks like going to have you a 1st down. That's big number 88, Dontrell Watson from St. Pete High, goes in at 220 pounds, and it looked like they moved the pile just enough for the 1st down for the South.
Dontrell Watson is the perfect back to give the ball to in that situation, Brian. He did it all year for the Green Devils, led the team in rushing and led them into the playoffs, as I mentioned in our pregame show, for the first time in a decade, and it took a host of North County tacklers to bring him down.
Frank Wintrick, one of the first men in there. Philip Muzone, also out of Dunedin, in there, but he only needed a foot, and he got about a yard. Watch 1st and 10.
Excuse me, Brian. Watch for Philip Muzone's name to be mentioned an awful lot on the defensive side of the ball.
Good-looking athlete out of Dunedin, trying to move that pile straight up the middle. The South picks up about 3 out to about the 33.
You know, we don't like to make predictions up here in the booth, Brian, but we're at the end of the game, we're going to have to be some assistance in naming the MVPs offensively and defensively. And normally in a wide open all-star game like this promises to be, defensive backs, quarterbacks, wide receivers are usually the players that could end up gaining the all-star defensive and offensive player of the game nod. So Philip Muzone could be an early dark horse to look for.
2nd down and 7. They'll split the backs. Give the ball to the tailback. This is number 20, Newton. Newton into the secondary, out across midfield. And they'll spot it right at about the midfield marker. And that's a gain on the play of about 18 yards 1st down. There is a marker back at the 45, however, and they're going to call it back for a hold. So a good run by Antonio Newton out of Boca Ciega High, negated by the holding penalty.
Well, this certainly was a nice run. Al Davis, who is no stranger to embellishments, has referred to him as a Barry Sanders style of runner. And not to take anything away from Newton, but that is certainly high praise for the Boca Ciega senior. 5'8", 165. He's got the size of a Barry Sanders. Certainly, we'll have to see how the game wears on if he's got that ability to rush for over 100 yards like Barry's done so many times this season.
Spotted the infraction foul, so it's 2nd down and 4. Run the inside counter play, and slipping and falling after a nice game was Fred Lauro, number 32, out of Dixie Hollins. And that play was open for further yards. Lauro tried to cut Rich, and he lost his footing on the slick field.
Well, as we mentioned earlier, that's probably what we'll see, at least in the early going of the game. These players are going to have some trouble getting their footing on the bad weather conditions and the bad turf from the weather conditions. Fred Lauro, one of the senior leaders for the Dixie Hollins Rebels, rushing for over 500 yards on the season.
He averaged 6.1 yards every time he touched the ball, primarily from the fullback position. 1st and 10 from their own 42 for the South, moving the ball early in this 4th annual Palms Pinellas Classic. Moulton trying to get outside, cannot turn that corner. Big hit over there on the far side by the North defense. 45 was one of the first men in there. That's Alan Lewis, the man we featured, the cornerback out of Clearwater High School in our pregame show.
Well, that's why a lot of Division I recruiters are very hot on Alan Lewis. As I mentioned, he can cover anybody in the county, but he can also hit, and he showed it there. He's just 5'8", 170 pounds, but he can lay the wood to you on defense.
Came upfield and forced the run, made the big hit.
And again, the skill position players are definitely ones to look for in this game. No zone defense, it's a straight man-to-man.
Mano-mano, 5-0 defense formation. They can't really run any counter plays. They try to run a reverse there, and nothing doing. North all over it. Willie Hostin coming up from the secondary. He had a lot of help from the interior of the defense.
And conversely, I mentioned that it's man-to-man defensively. Offensively, it's got to be a pro set or a twin set, as they call it. It's got to be 2 backs in the backfield at all times. You can't run 3 wide receivers and only have 1 back. So you might see a lot of little trickery like this where they try the reverse to number 21. That's Dave Green, who's normally a fleet-footed wide receiver. This time he played a little running back on the reverse.
That was a nice play by 66 Jason Saxon out of Seminole, 6'5", 220, making the play from the defensive end position. Throw the screen pass over here to Fred Lauro. Lauro with a little bit of blocking, makes a nice move. Lauro across midfield. 1st down and more for the South. He's finally popped. Nice tackle by number 10, Willie Hostin again, but not until he gets inside the 35-yard line for a first down for the South.
Great to see from Fred Lauro. You know, he's one of the guys, we haven't talked about him in the pregame show, but he's one of the guys that could really benefit from a good game in this type of a game. The spotlight will be on Fred Lauro if he continues to make outstanding plays like this. He's done it the last 2 years for a Dixie team that's considered one of the best in the county year in, year out. Although he hasn't got that much attention from college recruiters, tonight could be a night for him to shine.
Indeed. Good athlete, tough kid. Toss the ball to Moulton. Moulton tries to cut it up. Moulton with a seam into the secondary. Moulton cuts it back inside the 21, man to beat. Rashad Moulton finally run down. Touchdown saving tackle by Desmond Newton down at the 5-yard line. It'll be first and goal from there for the South.
And you gotta like the little style and flair from Rashad Moulton. No stranger to the end zone. I'm sure he'd wish he had those extra 3 yards so he could have gotten into the end zone for a little celebration. Great closing speed by number 3, Desmond Newton, taking down his fellow number 3, Rashad Moulton, but not until Rashad gets it down near the goal line, gives a little salute after his run.
They spotted at the 4s where they knocked him out of bounds. First and goal from there for the South. This is the big guy, Watson. Watson into the end zone for the touchdown. Dontrell Watson out of St. Pete takes it 4 yards off the right side. Credit that offensive front, Rich. They were outstanding on that drive.
Dontrell Watson bowling it in from 3 yards out. That's his specialty, running between the tackles. Almost once he gets to the offensive line, he's an additional lineman. He just lays his head down and buries whoever's in front of him. And that time he got some good blocking, as you mentioned, from the line, so he didn't have that many people to hit on his way to the first 6 points of the game.
And Dontrell, a late addition to the team. One of the players couldn't make it due to personal reasons. Dontrell stepped in, and he's an outstanding football player, proving it this evening. On to attempt the extra point, Tony Lazara. The kick is up, and it is through. 8:31 remaining in the first quarter. The South strikes first, and they lead it by the score of 7-0. You're watching the 4th annual Palms Pinellas All-Star Football Classic. Brian Ox, Rich Hollenberg, Eric Keaton back with you at Clearwater High School. The South strikes first here in the 4th annual Palms Pinellas All-Star Football Classic. See the South bench on the far side, happy with that drive, mostly on the ground, except for the nice screen pass they threw out there to Lauro. Kickoff by number 3, Desmond Newton. It's a short kick. And taken in over there on the far side and down at the 25-yard line. That was 88 David Zooks, the fine tight end out of East Lake High School. So the North will have their first possession from their own 25, the offensive unit for the North squad. Chad Maley, the quarterback, Latif Austin, Brian Riley, the running backs, Jared Dahlman, Frank Lang, and David Zooks, the receivers, Adam Robinson, Mark Leonair, John Tobick, Jake Smith, and Jeremy Freud, your big offensive front. That offensive front, big, Rich, they averaged 258 amongst that starting 5 across the front 5.
And those are some dangerous skill position players as well. A lot of breakaway ability.
Give the ball to Latif Austin. Not much there. He is stuffed immediately at the line of scrimmage. And the defensive unit for the South squad.
On the line, it's Maureen Pompey, Matt King, one of the biggest players on this squad, Rodney Myrick, Derek Wright from Lakewood, and Eric Davis out of P Park. Your linebackers, Raphael King, who just made that tackle, and Jamonte Robinson. And in your secondary, it's a good one. DeAndre Rubin, Carl Roberts, Willie Jordan from Boca Ciega, and Tony Lazara.
Second down and 10, no gain on that first play. This time they will split the backs with receivers to either side. Maley straight back to pass, under some pressure, dumps it off out here to Austin. Nice grab. Austin turns it up for a first down. Austin out near midfield, and Austin finally out of bounds. They'll mark him out of bounds right at the midfield stripe. Nice gain there on the little swing pass to Latif Austin. Let's go down the sidelines to Eric Keaton. Standing by with a graduate of Dixie Highlands High School, the defensive coordinator for the USF Bulls, Coach Kravitz.
All right, Coach Kravitz, this is a great opportunity tonight for a lot of these players.
Oh, most definitely. This is an opportunity. You know about certain guys that are playing out here, but this is a second chance for you to come back and find out about some of the other guys who weren't sure about. This is a great opportunity for a number of players.
I know you can't talk about any particular players that you're looking for, but where is USF looking to improve next season since you had a great first inaugural season?
Well, we're looking really to improve everywhere. You know, we're looking for the best talented athletes, and there's a number of great ones we're looking at out here tonight. So we're excited about this game.
All right, Coach Kravitz, let's send it back upstairs. Brian and Rich.
Thank you very much, Eric, and congratulations to Coach Rick Kravitz and Coach Levitt and everybody over there at USF. Did a great job this year, Rich, in their inaugural season of college football. You know, they lost by 1 point to Georgia Southern in a game they thought they could have won. Georgia Southern got all the way to the quarterfinals, lost to a very good University of Delaware team by only about 7 points in that game.
This is a team that is not too far off, and one of the reasons that they're having immediate success is games like this. They mine the talent from Pinellas County, and Pinellas County certainly has some of the best talent in this state, if not in the country.
Give the ball to Atif Austin. Austin breaks a tackle to the outside. Austin with first down yardage and inside the 30. Finally run out of bounds right at about the 25, 26-yard line. They'll spot it. And Austin showing that great speed and the ability, Rich, to bounce off of a tackle. He should have been hit for about a 5-yard gain on that play.
And he looks like he might have gotten the wind knocked out of him. This is a game where Atif Austin thrives. They're going to give him the ball a bunch of times, especially in the beginning of the game. And I would venture to guess that this could have been a touchdown if the field conditions weren't as they were. He had trouble getting his footing about him, even though he broke it to the outside, and then he was pushed out of bounds by Rashad Moulton and company. A nice run by Atif Austin after he caught the first pass of the game on the first play from the North County.
He got a great seal-off block on the corner from Jared Dahlman, the wide receiver out of Countryside. He played running back this year, Rich, but he showed his ability to block on that play to spring Atif Austin. Not much there that time as they try to go up the middle. And that was Mr. Riley, Brian Riley out of CCC. Guy who rushed for almost 1,500 yards this year, scored 20 touchdowns.
And as I mentioned, he was the #1 runner in the county last year. Outdone only this year by Atif Austin. And now they're in the same backfield together. That is certainly a daunting task for the South County defense. Also bears to mention, Chad Maley, the starting quarterback for the North. A lot of recruiters are here looking at him to see his arm strength and his throwing ability. Never gets a lot of chances to throw the ball at Eastlake. They are a ground-oriented game, so Maley will certainly be in the spotlight tonight for his throwing as well as his running.
He's more of a lead blocker in that Eastlake offense. They toss the ball back to the tailback, and he leads up through there along with Ryan Swafford, their fullback, who's also on this team. That was a defensive encroachment, which will be called against the South.
Dead ball foul, encroachment on the defense, 5-yard penalty, second down.
And referee John Taylor officially explaining it to us. That'll make it second down and about 4.
And you know, one of the things I also wanted to mention, no team is allowed to have more than 5 players on a roster. Eastlake has their limit of 5. Unfortunately for them, left out of off this team and certainly deserving of being on. Ryan Wilson, the running back, and Kyle Hazelwood, a linebacker, 2 of the best players in the county, not featured tonight.
Indeed, there's a nice outs pattern thrown, and the catch is made by Frank Lang out of Dunedin. That's going to be a first and goal from about the 4-yard line, and you saw Maley's strength on the out pattern and a nice pattern run by Frank Lang, who caught 27 balls this year, 2 of them for touchdowns.
Frank Lang is one of the best athletes in Pinellas County, a true 3-sport star. A star for the Dunedin football team, but equally a star on their basketball team and on their state title-winning baseball team. Certainly one of the guys that you want to keep an eye on tonight. He has got big play ability written all over him.
First and goal from the 4. Backs are in the I formation. Give the ball first, second man through. Jason Butler, number 32, and he's going to be tackled just shy of the goal line. Jason Butler, 6'1", 200 out of Dunedin. And he just comes up shy by about the length of the football.
And what a pleasure it is. We've already mentioned 3 standout players from Dunedin High School. Jason Butler, Frank Lang, Philip Muzan on defense. Those are 3 of the key ingredients why Todd Donahoe's club really turned it around this year. One of the remarkable turnarounds in Pinellas County, going from no wins 4 years ago to having a winning season this year and almost a district title.
Didn't have the numbers, Rich, but he had some quality athletes. A lot of guys went both ways. Those three players you mentioned were stalwarts this year. Second and goal from inside the 1. One more time. Butler hitting the backfield. Great play by the linebacker, Eric Davis, out of Pinellas Park. Big 45 goes in at 6'2", 230, and he is quick.
Well, they have a pair of linebackers that nobody in the country would want to face if you're an offensive player. Jamonte Robinson, number 51 with the green helmet, and Eric Davis with the red helmet. Eric Davis, we saw him in the playoffs in the first round a few weeks back, and he is just an absolute star. Rumor has it that he wouldn't be too upset staying close to home and playing for USF. So I'm sure Mr. Kravitz, who we just heard from, is keeping a close eye on Eric Davis.
He knows all about number 45. Third down and goal, no gain at all on the play. Quarterback sneak by Maley. Did he get there? Yes, he did. 1 yard touchdown run by Chad Maley out of Eastlake High School. And the North is on the board with 2:38 remaining in the first quarter.
Boy, it says something about this Eastlake program. 2 years in a row now, they have a quarterback starting in this All-Star game. And as we mentioned, this is a team that runs the ball predominantly in their offense. Chad Maley, very tough kid, 5'11", 170, only his first year of playing quarterback. And what a job he did leading the Eastlake Eagles to another playoff appearance this season.
Made the throws when he had to. Black on to attempt the extra point. The kick is up, and it is good. 2:38 remaining first quarter. We are tied at 7. You're watching the 4th annual Palms Pinellas All-Star Football Classic. The North All-Stars, Chad Maley. Chad Maley, Rich, you talked about him being an outstanding athlete. He also won the Time Warner Academic Award at the banquet the other evening for the outstanding grade point average for North County athletes. The full student athlete getting a chance to show his ability at quarterback here this evening. The South County winner was Casey Moore, the big fullback out of St. Pete Catholic. The cheerleaders were Tiffany Davis from Eastlake for the North, Kristen Ramsey from Boca Ciega for the South, and we'll make the band presentations at halftime this evening. We'll keep those a secret until then.
All those student athletes certainly well deserving, and we always like to mention here on Time Warner Channel 7 that cheerleading is a sport.
Yes,
we are constantly reminded of that, and these awards are another indication of that.
And they gave a scholarship out the other evening to a young lady from Pinellas Park who won the individual cheerleading contest. First and 10 from the 20, back to pass. Joe Vaughn has his receiver on the far side. That's Casey Moore, the big fullback who they put out there, threw the football to him, and he's going to pick up about 4 yards to make it 2nd and 6.
Well, this is the guy that Al Davis has said he would not be surprised if he sees Casey Moore playing on Sundays. And what that means in football speak is he's got potential to be a professional football player in the NFL. We'll have to see Casey Moore and his skills tonight. A lot of people don't get a chance to see him because he plays for a St. Pete Catholic team that's a small private school, but certainly one of the best players on the field.
6'3", 220. He's got good speed, scored 20 touchdowns this year. The deep fade pattern, trying to get it out here to DeAndre Rubin, and again, good coverage. That's the battle we saw on the first play. Desmond Newton from Largo all over Mr. Rubin, two of the great athletes, Rich, two of the better skill players in the county.
Well, Desmond Newton, one of the best runners in the county, also showing his skills at the defensive back position. But talk about DeAndre Rubin, the top receiver in the county this year, 21 catches, 446 yards. He averaged 21.2 yards every time he caught the ball. He is being recruited by a bunch of schools. He's got the grades. He's got to get his SATs up, and he's trying to do that right now. But schools like Miami are coming to call.
They're here this evening. 3rd down and 6. They're going to run the ball straight up the middle, trying to spread them out and fold them, but it will not get there. They gave the ball to Rashad Moulton out of Lakewood. He gets out to about the 28. That's going to be 2 yards shy of the first down marker. And for the first time this evening, with 1:33 remaining here in the first quarter, we're going to see a punt. Both teams took it the length of the field on their initial possession.
Let's not forget that on the first possession for the South County, Al Davis decided to roll the dice and went for it on 4th down and indeed got it. This time it's a little bit more of a gamble, and he decided to let his all-star punter come on and Tony Lazaro have his first punt of the night.
Good high punt from Lazaro. Fair catch called for and taken in at his own 35-yard line by Desmond Newton. That's a nice punt there by Tony Lazaro, the fine running back, punter, place kicker out of Shorecrest, and he's kicking rich, kicked the extra point. Also ran for 981 yards this season, scored 5 touchdowns. Let's go back to the sidelines to Eric Keaton.
All right, Brian, I'm down on the field with Venice Dunn from Dunedin High School. Now, cheerleading is a sport, Venice, and tell us how you guys were chosen.
I say, okay. Hi, I'm Venice Dunn from Dunedin High School, and I'm an all-star cheerleader. And the way I became an all-star cheerleader, like the other girls here, is basically cheerleaders, senior cheerleaders from each school, whether north or, for example, Dunedin, East Lake, or Largo, or south, for example, Bogosiega or Pinellas Park, come together, and it's a maximum of about 3 cheerleaders from each high school that come together in a division of north and south, and we just cheer for our division guys, north and south, again, for their football all-star game.
Venice, what do you want to do when you get out of high school?
Well, me, actually, I want to be a television broadcaster like yourself, probably for NBC or CBS, and hopefully, I know, be successful, have fun, whatever, because I'm very used to it. I'm the anchor at my television show at Dunedin High School, and it's just something that I'm really interested in and very relaxed in.
Go ahead and put you on the spot. Send it back up to Rich and Brian.
No problem. And now back to you, Rich and Brian.
Well, thank you very much, Venice. And nothing like starting at the top. Rich, CBS or NBC, you know, right there, and join the big guys.
I'd like to be her agent. I might quit my job and become her agent. Denise, give me your business card.
That is the end of the first quarter with the score, the North 7, the South 7. You're watching the 4th annual Palms Pinellas All-Star Football Classic. It's going to be 3rd down and 5 for the North squad. Tied at 7. Start the second quarter. Brian Unks, Rich Hollenberg, Eric Keaton back with you from Clearwater High School, the 4th annual Palms Pinellas All-Star Football Classic. I'd like to welcome everyone watching this game statewide on the Sunshine Network. Getting an opportunity to see the high school football senior talent here in Pinellas County. Maley breaks out of the tackle. There's a flag on the field. Could be a face mask. He's going to run it for the first down out near midfield. Rich, you talked about him getting a chance to showcase his skills. Threw the ball well on the first drive, that time showing his running ability.
And talk about escapability with running ability. You can add that to the list of skills that Chad Maley possesses. Eric Davis was bearing down on him and grabbed a face mask. Unintentional, I'm sure. He just wanted to throw him down to the turf. But Maley, a great athlete in his own right, did a good job of eluding him. He lists one of his hobbies as weightlifting, Brian, and I'm sure that has a lot to do with it. A strong enough kid to avoid the sack by a much bigger Eric Davis.
As we talked about earlier, the winner of the Time Warner Academic Excellence Award for the GPA of North County athletes on this team, and a smart kid making the fakes there when he had to. You see the passing leaders in this game. Chris Piccolo out of CCC will primarily play defense this evening. Willie Hosen probably will play a lot of defense also. Robert Dorsey maybe going to play some wide receiver and quarterback.
Well, that just is a testament of the athletic ability of all these quarterbacks. Not only can they throw the ball, they're multi-positional players.
Lateef Austin on the counter play. Up the middle, picks up a yard.
That's Raphael King, number 64 from Dixie Hollins, in on the tackle. You know, Lateef Austin struggled a little bit this year, if you can call gaining over 1,700 yards struggling. Fumbled the ball a couple of times more than I'm sure he and his coach Don Davis would have liked. But talk about resiliency. This kid, for the last 2 years, has easily been the best runner in Pinellas County as far as numbers are concerned. And he is being recruited by some major Division I schools. Duke is seriously looking at him, and they are represented here tonight in Clearwater. And a lot of people were thinking that maybe he'd be converted to a defensive back once he got to college. I'm not so sure about that. I think he's certainly got the skills to be a running back.
Well, he does. If he can learn how to hold on to the football, and you play in the level like Duke plays in, or some of the other Division I schools looking at him, he'll need to learn to do that. But so far, he's
dead ball foul,
on their first drive.
Defense, 5-yard penalty, second down.
As John Taylor tells us about the encroachment penalty. But it's nice to have an athlete like that, Rich, and most of the Division I schools want to know, can guys play both ways in case they don't make it on one side of the ball? And certainly Lateef Austin, one of those athletes who can do just that. Second down at about 4. You see his numbers on the year. Averaged 10 yards a carry. He scored 15 touchdowns for the Tarpon Springs Spongers.
And in one game this year, Brian, he gained over 300 yards on the ground.
Maley with a quick drop, throws the out pattern, and he has number 21, Frank Lang. It's the second time that combination is hooked up here in the first half. They will move the chains once again as they spot the ball down at the 24.
Maley hit as he threw. Again, Eric Davis right in his face, and that's our cameraman Glenn Richard toughing it out and taking a little bit of a hit himself as Frank Lang came right into your television screen.
I don't know, Glenn Davis, the big Alabama fan, he probably laid a lick on the man himself. 1st and 10 from the 24. Split the backs with a receiver to either side. Maley, the quarterback, calling signal. Straight dive play. Teef Austin, nothing there. Jamonte Robinson filling the hole from the linebacker position, making the hit.
Jamonte Robinson has been a star, if not a superstar, all year long for the St. Pete Green Devils. The leader of that defense plays in the middle, but has the speed and quickness to get outside as well. And you see his ability to do that right there against a small, shifty running back like a Teef Austin. Jamonte wants to go to school. He's talking with USF as well as some other schools in the southeast area, Memphis, Tulsa, Missouri. Even schools like Miami and Duke are interested in Mr. Robinson's talents.
He needs to put on about 20 pounds over the next couple of years, and he'll be a big-time linebacker. 6'3", got the frame, 205. 2nd and 10. Counter action on the rollout. Maley with time, going to fire it back across the middle. Nice defensive play coming up from the secondary to break it up was number 7, Carl Roberts. Roberts out of St. Pete Catholic, a 5'10", 185-pound cornerback.
Maley showing some good rollout ability, had a lot of good blocking from his offensive line and time to throw the ball. And he threw it into tight coverage, as you mentioned. Carl Roberts doing a good job defensively on the play out of St. Pete Catholic.
One of Big Casey Moore's teammates at St. Pete Catholic, players we did not get a chance to see here this year on the Game of the Week, but they are showing their abilities this evening in the All-Star Classic.
And it's worth noting that that was the first incompletion thrown by Mr. Maley. He's 3 for 4 on the night, 51 yards. Not a bad start to the evening for the All-Star from Eastlake.
He'll need one here on 3rd down and 10. He sends the backs in the I formation. And it looks like he may have a free play, and they're going to have a dead ball, and it's going to make it 3rd down and 5 because it appeared, anyway, that the South was offsides on the play.
Dead ball, false start, offense, 5-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
Well, appearances aren't always what happened, Rich. It was a false start that drew the South offside, so it'll be 3rd down and 15 now.
And it looks like Maley might be having some trouble holding on to the ball as it was snapped when you look at it here. And again, that ball could be a little muddy, it could be a little wet. Not ideal field conditions for this game. And you look at some of the guys on the offensive line, their arms and their forearms are really all muddied up already. So that's going to be an important thing to look for tonight, is the ability of the running backs and the quarterbacks to hold on to the football once it's snapped or handed off.
I think John Tobeck out of Tarpon, the center, may have snapped that account too soon because the rest of the line did not fire out either. 3rd and 15, straight back Maley. Going to swing it out on the screen pass, and it is dropped. It is dropped out there, and it'll be 4th and 15, and decision time now coming up for Sam Roper, who's trying to get the ball out to 32, Jason Butler.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jason Butler probably had his eyes a little too wide because he had some major real estate in front of him with no white jerseys around him, and he just must have taken his eye off the ball for a split second, causing the drop there. You won't see him do that too often.
45-yard field goal attempt now coming up from Brian Black.
And don't be surprised if he hits this, Brian. He was easily the best kicker in the public schools for Pinellas County. We've got a couple of good kickers in this game. Tony Lazara from Shorecrest at private school. But Brian Black certainly has the leg to get it through.
Kick is up, and it is just wide to the left. It was officially a 44-yard attempt. He gave it a good ride on a muddy surface, but he comes up just a little bit short. 7-7. 11:18 remaining here in the 2nd quarter. You're watching the 4th annual Palms Pinellas All-Star Football Classic. Back at Clearwater High School, the South taking over after the missed field goal. Brian Black gave it a good ride, Rich, but just missed it by inches wide to the left.
And if there's something to be taken away from that kick, if recruiters are looking at Mr. Black, it's that he certainly had the leg strength to hit a 45-yarder on a bad, muddy field for a kicker, especially Brian Black, showing that he's got the distance, the leg, to be a collegiate kicker.
Fine football player, also the punter, punts very well. South picked up 2 yards on that first play. It's going to be second down now and 8. Backs are going to be in the I formation. Casey Moore is your fullback. Behind Joe Vaughn, the quarterback out of Pinellas Park. And give the ball to the tailback. That's Rashad Moulton. And not much there. Good defense again by the North squad running to the football.
And that's Gerald Frazier, the first time we're mentioning his name, out of Osceola. 6 feet, 204. This guy is stacked. A defensive end from Osceola making plays all year long for the Warriors, similar to that one. Part of a very solid defensive line for the North County.
It's going to bring up third down and 8 as there was no gain on the play. They'll send receivers to either side.
Must say I'm surprised that Al Davis hasn't aired the ball out a little more with a talented quarterback like Joe Vaughn under center.
Vaughn on play action. With time, steps up, firing it back across the middle, and the ball is dropped. Jim Pollard, the big tight end out of Shorecrest, had to go down near his ankles to try to catch it and could not quite haul it in. It's going to set up 4th and 8 and a punting situation for the South.
Well, here we see a chance for Joe Vaughn finally to make something happen. He hasn't had too much success with the passing game. A catchable ball, but as you saw, there were 3 black jerseys surrounding Jim Pollard. Tough catch to make.
Pollard 6'4", 238, the tight end out of Shorecrest. Would probably like to have that one back. Vaughn put it about the only place where it could have been caught by his teammate, but it was a difficult catch.
Tony Lazara punting. Watch for Desmond Newton returning kicks. They're going to have good field position regardless.
Another 5 punt by Lazara. Fair catch called for by Newton. It was good downfield coverage. Number 20, Mark Golden, was down there from East Lake High School for, make that Antonio Newton, number 20 for the South, covering that punt out of Boca Ciega High School. But as you mentioned, the North will have good field position from their own 45. 8:56 and counting remaining here in the second quarter. We're tied at 7 in the 4th annual Palms Pinellas All-Star Football Classic. Brian Ungst, Rich Hollenberg, Eric Keaton here from Clearwater High School. Hope you're enjoying the coverage.
Looks like Mr. Maley will have the quarterbacking duties for the entire first half.
Gives the ball to Austin, and he is crunched in the backfield by Eric Davis. Once again, Eric Davis at 6'2", 230 pounds. He runs about a 4.6 40, Rich. That's why a lot of people like him, and he gets in there in a hurry, and when he gets a shot, he does not miss you.
Well, that's talking about staying home right there. Eric Davis played that play to perfection, and obviously these kids only have about 8 days of practice together, but Eric Davis showing good football instincts right there, and that's an important thing to have when you're trying to play at the next level.
Right now they are lining Eric Davis up at a defensive line position, not a defensive end. We have to play a 5-0 base defense. So he's a natural linebacker playing some defensive end right now. Trying to quick hitter outside, guess Frank Lang. Frank Lang trying to make something happen, but could not quite get that corner turn. Coming up from the secondary was DeAndre Rubin. He had some help from Fred Laro, the teammates from Dixie Hollins, making the play defensively for the South.
Well, when you have skill players like Frank Lang, it's easy to just say, we're going to throw you a screen pass and then you do the rest. Frank Lang did that all season for the Dunedin Falcons. 27 catches, 424 yards, scored 2 touchdowns on the year at the wideout position, and that time he just got tripped up before he can make a big gain out of it.
It was also a nice play by Raphael King, the third Dixie Hollins defender run on the play. King, it's number 64, playing linebacker at 5'10", 255, Rich. He's making a tackle on the outside against the speedy Frank Lang. That's a great play and great ability to cover the field from the linebacker position by a 255-pound athlete.
That was already Lang's 3rd catch of the game for 32 yards.
There's movement on the offensive front. Brad Lloyd out of Northside Christian in at guard, and may have started just a snap count too soon.
dead ball foul, false start, offense. 5-yard penalty, still third down.
Checking back into the game is Frank Lang. He's going to bring the play in from Sam Roper on the sideline. They'll mark back 5 yards and make it third down and 11. The ball just inside the 44-yard line of the North. They need to get to the South's 45. Dahlman spreads out to the right. Frank Lang is the wide receiver on this side. They'll split the backs, Brian Riley and Atif Austin. Chad Maley, the quarterback, straight back to pass with some time, looking for the deep fade, and the receiver, Lang, falls down. DeAndre Rubin was out there in perfect position, however, I don't think that one would have hooked up regardless, Rich.
You know, it's interesting. We've been talking about DeAndre Rubin as one of the best, if not the best, wide receiver in this county. Talked to his head coach, Todd Wilson from Dixie Hollins. He thinks DeAndre Rubin will best be suited as a defensive back, and he could easily make all-county defensive back as well as all-county wide receiver. Obviously, he'll probably make only one of those, but DeAndre Rubin equally gifted on the defensive side of the ball as he is on the offensive side.
And I think that's the position he will play in college, Rich. You can find guys to play wide receiver, but you can't find a few guys that have his instincts as a corner or a safety, but primarily a corner, I think, that can close and make a big hit. And speaking of big hits, there was one later right there.
That was Philip Muzan again, stepping up on special teams as well as the defensive side of the ball. He comes from a long line of Muzans in the Dunedin Falcon football family, and he could end up being one of the best ones. Led the team in tackles this year. He was the team MVP. 5'11", 190 pounder. Certainly will have a Division I career ahead of him.
And I believe his brother used to work for us a few years ago in our production department here. His cousin, I was corrected. Toss the ball out there. Rashad Moulton tries to turn the corner. Moulton with good yardage on first down, second effort. And he's going to be very close to a first down for the South.
And that was great pursuit by number 20, Mark Golden from the north side. Interesting story about Golden, Brian. He was a defensive back all year, all throughout his career. He was so good that they put him on the team and they couldn't find a spot for him in the defensive backfield, so they line him up as a defensive end, showing his athletic ability right there and his speed from that defensive end position. 6'1", 190, also a basketball player for the East Lake Eagles. This is a guy that's obviously got some athletic ability.
Yes, and his toughness, playing secondary and all of a sudden playing defensive end in an all-star game. You're going to take a lot more hits at that defensive end position. Run the counter play, big Casey Moore into the secondary. He's going to have a first down and some. That's a 12-yard gain by 230-pound fullback Casey Moore.
Well, you don't like to throw out accolades like this, but a player wearing number 40, a fullback, got some good size, good speed as well. Very easy to make the comparisons to a Tampa Bay Buccaneer Mike Allstott on a run like that from Casey Moore.
At least he got a couple of more inches on Mr. Allstott. Doesn't quite have the extra 20 pounds or so, but he has time to mature. First and 10 for the South from their own 41. Give the ball this time into the tailback. That's 88, Dontrell Watson out of St. Pete High on the carry. They'll move the stack forward for a gain of about 4. They'll bring up second down and a short 6.
You know, coming into this game, Sam Roper, the head coach of the North County team, said his idea was to run the ball down the South County's throats. Right now, with 4 minutes left in the first half, it's been exactly the opposite. The South County is the team that's doing most of the running.
The North starting defensive front only averaged 217 pounds, where the South starting offensive front averaged 232 pounds, and Rashad Moulton taking advantage of that size right there, turns the corner again for big yardage. Another tackle made by Philip Muzan to save what could have been another South touchdown.
Well, you see the flashbulbs popping every time Mr. Moulton grabs the football. He is exciting to watch, shows some great balance and great running ability on that play. On the slick surface, he almost fell a couple of times, but was able to keep his feet about him and pick up a nice gain for the South County.
Out of that Lakewood wing T offense, he rushed for 587 yards on only 81 carries, almost 7.5 yards per carry, scored 9 touchdowns this year. Tossed the ball short side, pitch coming into Antonio Newton. Not much there at that time. He picks up a yard or 2 at the most. Tackle was made by Tarek Jones out of Osceola. Let's go down to Eric Keaton standing by with quarterback Chad Maley.
Chad, an excellent opportunity tonight for you to showcase your talents, on the field. How's it going out there?
Pretty well. I mean, it's a tie ball game right now. I think we can drive on them. I mean, they're pretty tough, though, considering the field conditions and everything.
Now, you were telling me a little bit on the sidelines about your leadership in the huddle as well as off the field. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, I try to get it done both in the classroom and on the field. I mean, doing things I enjoy, trying to learn as much as I can. Just try to be successful.
All right, good luck to you. Good luck in the rest of the first half and the second half. Let's send it back upstairs.
Thank you, Eric. And again, Chad Maley, we talked about the Time Warner Academic Excellence Award winner. Works hard in the classroom, serious student, and likes to learn as much as he can, as he said right there. As we're going to have a flag on that play as it lost yardage. Just when the South looked like they were moving the football, Rich, they may have shot themselves in the foot here with a couple of plays and now a penalty that will apparently march them backwards. Let's wait for the call, though, from referee John Taylor. Actually, it's going to be against the North, so we stand corrected once again. It'll be a personal foul against the North. That will move the chains for the South and march them inside the 25. They'll spot it down near the 21.
Well, penalties aside, I'd love to see a replay of this because we saw a defensive play by number 9 on the South team, or on the North team rather, Frank Wintrip out of Seminole. And according to his head coach, who's also the North County head coach tonight, he is one of the outstanding players on this team as far as Division I prospects go. The Air Force Academy, very high on him.
He's a good-looking athlete at 6'2", 210, who can run sideline to sideline, make the big hit. Timeout's been called by the South. 2:23 remaining in the first half. We're tied at 7. We'll take a break. You're watching the 4th annual Palms Pinellas All-Star Football Classic. Here's the play right here is Frank Wintrick making the run. Or making the tackle, on Rashad Moulton. Fighting off the block, Rich, you talked about. What an athlete.
Well, that was an incredible play getting into the backfield, as you mentioned, and Frank Wintrick is certainly going to be one of those players, and another one of those players that we really didn't get to hear too much about, especially because Seminole, even though they had a good year, did not make the playoffs. There wasn't much written or said about them, but he is a superstar for that Seminole squad.
Good looking. He fought off the block of 84 Jim Pollard, who put a pretty good block on. Pollard, as we talked about earlier, goes in at 6'4", 238. So he took on Pollard and made the tackle.
And interestingly enough, he's interested in going to the Air Force Academy. I believe that's where Dan Maxey went, who was playing for Seminole last year.
Brother Mike playing this year. There's a pass completed down to Dave Green. Dave Green down near the goal line, knocked down at the 1. So the South knocking on the door with 2:10 remaining here in the second quarter.
David Green, one of the best players in the county at the wideout position. And Joe Vaughn, very familiar with Mr. Green, the Pinellas Park connection right there. And I'll tell you what, if the North County ends up winning this game, I would give the defensive MVP already to Desmond Newton. That's his second touchdown-saving tackle made by the Largo defensive back, Desmond Newton.
Newton has been very active for that North squad. First and goal, Moore on the right side, the big fullback. Second effort, gets in for the 1-yard touchdown. Casey Moore takes it 1 yard on the right side, adds 6 more to the South tally. They now lead it by the score of 13-7.
Well, here's Casey Moore doing what he does best, just bullying his way inside. That's the second touchdown we've seen by the South County on short yardage situations, and both times they've handed it off to either of their fullbacks. The first time it was Watson, this time it's Moore, both with the same result.
Tony Lazara on to attempt the extra point. Robert Dorsey will be the holder. Coming right into your living room. It is up and it is through. We have 1:43 remaining in the second quarter. The South regaining the lead. Leads it by the score of 14-7. We'll take another break. You're watching the 4th annual Palms Pinellas All-Star Football Classic from Clearwater High School. Casey Moore scoring from 1 yard away, the big fullback out of St. Pete Catholic to give the South the lead at 14-7. 1:43 left here in the first half of action. Brian Ungst, Rich Hollenberg, Eric Keaton back with you here at Clearwater High School. Hope you're enjoying the coverage of the 4th Annual Palms Pinellas All-Star Football Classic. Rashad Moulton kicking off, kicks a ground ball to Lateef Austin, who takes it at his 18, trying to get up the near sideline. And he dances out to about the 29, where he is gang tackled right there by a number of South All-Stars, including Jamonte Robinson and number 9, Dontrell Butler from St. Pete High.
Interesting that we're seeing Rashad Moulton doing the kickoff duties for the South County. I don't recall him doing that during the regular season, but when you have athletes like this, I guess they're pretty much interchangeable parts.
And you have to wonder, Tony Lazara might have a little bit of a leg injury. They're letting him punt and kick the PATs and field goals, and they may want to save his leg for that because he would normally be handling those duties. And you can see Moulton stepping up to help the team, Rich, but he's not real comfortable, obviously, in that position.
No, he's certainly comfortable at the tailback position, though. He's got 7 carries for 71 yards already on the night, the leading rusher on the night so far in this contest.
So he's beating his season average. His season average is about 7.2 yards per carry, averaging 10 yards a carry this evening. We had a timeout for an equipment adjustment. Casey Moore coming back onto the field. He's going both ways now, playing at an outside linebacker, defensive end really position in the 5-0 base defense. Maley gives the ball to Riley, who is crushed by Casey Moore up top, and Jamonte Robinson on the bottom. That's 2 guys, Rich, you don't want to get double teamed by.
Oh, right on cue, I guess. You mentioned Casey Moore lined up on defense, and Casey Moore comes up with a crunching hit from the defensive end position.
That last scoring drive, 80 yards in 8 plays. They took 4:15 off the clock. The 1-yard run by Casey Moore. Tony Lazara adds the extra point, and the South leads at 14-7, now with under a minute remaining here in the first half.
So far, the private schools well represented in this game, Brian.
Yes, they are. And that's what this is. It's an opportunity for some of the players that played at some of the schools that didn't get as much publicity, a chance to showcase their skills against the best athletes in Pinellas County. There's a pass complete out here to Lateef Austin across midfield. He gets down to the 42-yard line. That will stop the clock with 31.8 seconds remaining in the second quarter to move the chains. We'll see whether they take a timeout. Sam Roper and the North squad, they're talking it over right now.
Second big catch and run for Lateef Austin coming out of the backfield. Didn't get a chance to do that much for the Tarpon Springs Spongers this year. He was primarily a running back. Didn't do much pass catching out of the backfield this season.
He's showing his versatility. We talked about the fact he could play in the secondary. He could possibly be made into a wide receiver because he's got great speed. All the Pinellas County rushing leaders in this game. You see Austin up there with Riley and Butler, and that's just a who's who of Pinellas County football. All of those players doing great jobs this season for their respective schools.
And important to mention Bryce Yeagle at the bottom of that list, rushing for 837 yards, part of that Northeast team that made it to the state Final Four in Class 5A. Certainly couldn't be here tonight, but he was originally named to the team with 4 other of his teammates, Brian Houston, Ben Mead, Derek Huntley, and Jeff Stork. All of them would have loved to have played tonight, but they couldn't because they were chasing a state title.
Well, they played last Friday and had no chance at all to practice with the respective squad, the South squad. They were given their all-star rings at the banquet Sunday night down at the USF campus in St. Pete, so they were represented there, and they did a great job losing in the semifinals to St. Thomas Aquinas down in Fort Lauderdale. Maley on 1st and 10, trying to make something happen. Now is just going to finally run the ball out of bounds to stop the clock after he loses about 6 yards. 21.8 seconds remaining in the half. And that's good defense, Rich, because he had about 20 seconds with which to find a receiver.
Yeah, it was great defense. And you know, with under a minute to go in the first half, Chad Maley's night is probably over at quarterback. So he's itching to get as many passing plays in as he can. So that shows you what great defense that was, that Maley did not have the time or the wherewithal to find a receiver because of the great coverage by the South County.
I exaggerated a little bit when I said 20 seconds, but it was officially 10 seconds because that ball was snapped with 31.8 seconds remaining in the half. Now we have 21.8 seconds, so that's good coverage by the linebackers in the secondary of the South. Second and about 17. Split the backs, wide receiver to either side. The ball back to the South's 47. Maley back to pass. Trying to hook up has Frank Lang. Frank Lang with a move. Frank Lang has first down yardage. That will stop the clock at the 26-yard lines with 12.8 seconds. 0.8 has been the wild card here in the last sequence of plays.
Well, Maley is really accomplishing exactly what he set out to do and what the North County has set out to do. They're moving the ball through the air, even though Sam Roper would have liked to have run the ball more. They're being effective with the passing game, namely Chad Maley, Frank Lang. That connection is hooked up quite a few times tonight.
Let's see what happens here now, Rich. They do have a timeout remaining. They're talking things over right now, and officially we have them with a timeout remaining. Will they run the ball to the right, try to pick up a couple of yards to give Brian Black a better shot at the field goal? He missed from this exact spot, but that's a tough angle from right to left, or left to right, make that for a high school kicker in this mud. See whether they maybe try to get the ball more into the middle of the field in case they have to settle for a field goal attempt. See Tom Keeler down there on the sideline, Sam Roper down there. Sam Roper, the head coach of this North squad. Tom Keeler assisting him, the head coach of the East Lake Eagles. They had an outstanding season, losing in the state tournament to perennial power Sarasota Riverview.
And there's a look at young Mr. Black talking to his coach, Sam Roper. He's probably saying, let's line it up, I'll kick it from there, coach.
Let's see if they try to run the ball to the right a little bit to give him a little more straight on angle. We saw that he had the distance on the last one. It was just wide to the left by inches. Ryan Swafford in at fullback now. They're going to split the back. Swafford to T. Austin behind Chad Maley. Sends two receivers in a slot to the right. And did they draw them off? That might be the 5 yards that Brian Black needed. Let's see what the call is. It's going to be a procedure penalty instead against the North.
Foul, false start, offense. 5-yard penalty, first down.
So they took their timeout. They were anxious. They must have liked the play, Rich, but they started a little bit too soon once again on the offensive front.
Well, from up here in the booth, it looked like Chad Maley did a great job of using the hard count on the South County defense. Obviously, that's not why we're not wearing the zebra stripes, and we're up here in the booth.
1st and 15. Split the backs again, slot to the right, Maley back to pass with time. Now looks like he might want to run it. Going to fire it deep instead. Has a man out there. Touchdown, number 84, Dan Downs out of CCC. Maley is down. He took a hit. What a throw and catch there from Chad Maley to Dan Downs. You don't see that any better in the pros, Rich.
Well, that was unbelievable. Chad Maley buying himself just enough time and pointing like Babe Ruth would point down to his receiver. Get down there, I'm going to get the ball to you, and took quite a hit from Jamonte Robinson just as he released the ball. But look at this concentration by Dan Downs, outracing 3 South County defenders and making the grab from Clearwater Central Catholic. Dan Downs, 6'5", 210, showing the legs to get downfield and haul in the touchdown. 32 yards on the play.
And that was a great pass from Maley under pressure, who, as Rich said, took a big hit from Jamonte Robinson. Downs, listed as a tight end at 6'5", 210, showed he had the speed to get down the middle. And Maley, buying the extra time, allowed him to get behind the secondary for the big score. The big scoring pass on the final play. There's no time left on the clock here in the first half. Brian Black will try to tie it up. Kick is up. And it is good. We are tied at 14, as that is the final play of the first half. An exciting first half of action here at Clearwater High School. And Rich, we've seen some of these games been back and forth, and this game was all we thought it would be so far here in the first half.
Well, I'll tell you what I've taken away from this first half. Chad Maley has completely astounded me. I knew he was a good quarterback, but he has shown the quarterbacking skills that you really want to see in an all-star game.
Let's go down to Eric Keaton standing by with the Norse head coach, Sam Roper.
All right, Coach Roper, I got to ask you, did you call that play, or was that all Chad Maley?
That was Chad. No, we were trying to get the ball in field position over here a little bit better so Brian could have another shot at a field goal here. And Chad and tight end made a great play. He got open.
Besides Chad Maley on both sides of the ball, who have you seen that's been making an impact tonight?
I really hadn't noticed any one individual. Teef's had some great runs, and the surface area is not a real good playing surface area tonight. But you notice everybody's slipping, and that might be to our advantage right now.
What's going to be the focus in halftime?
Well, we're going to come back and try to win a football game.
All righty. Thanks a lot, Coach. We'll send it back upstairs.
All right, thank you very much, Eric, and congratulations to Sam Roper and the North squad for tying it up here at the half. We're going to take a break. 14-14 your score at the end of the first half. You're watching the 4th Annual Palms Pinellas All-Star Football Classic from Clearwater High School. Back at halftime, 14-14, the 4th Annual Palms Pinellas All-Star Football Classic. Let's go now to Eric Keaton, who's going to present the Time Warner Communications Academic Excellence Awards.
All right, thanks, Brian. Now, folks, we had a banquet on Sunday where we recognized the football player and the cheerleaders for the North and South, but now we'd like to recognize a big talent, and that is our band. And the first recipient goes to North County band member Jason O'Bara from East Lake High School. Congratulations, Jason. South County band member Keisha Kathy Singleton from Gibbs High School. Don't have an award for you. Sorry about that. Congratulations.
Who was unable to participate here this evening. And again, at the football banquet, Chad Maley from East Lake High School was the North County Academic Excellence Award winner. The South County player was Casey Moore. The North County cheerleader was Tiffany Davis from East Lake High School, and the South County cheerleader was Kristen Ramsey from Boca Ciega High School. Congratulations to all the fine student athletes and extracurricular activity participants here in Pinellas County on their academic excellence. We'll take another break. 14-14 is your score here at the half. We'll be back with more Clearwater High School in a moment.
in a fun rendition of the ever-popular 60s hand jive tune, I Want Candy. County Band Directors strive hard to bring the best in music education and entertainment to the field for the fall marching band season. Cooperation and mutual appreciation of each other's schools is an important foundation for our students. The next selection is born from a joint performance by the Seminole High School and Clearwater High School bands during Clearwater's 1996 homecoming. Here's an original rock tune by John Katkenhorst titled Boo Gong.
We're back at Clearwater High School, halftime of the 4th annual Palms Pinellas All-Star Football Classic, tied at 14. Let's go down to the sidelines. Eric Keaton standing by with South head coach Al Davis.
All right, Coach Davis, give us a little bit of assessment of the first half.
Well, I think both teams played very well. You know, you're working with both North and South team with a lot of speed, and our job right now is trying to cut down that speed, you know, and they're doing a good job with the North, but throwing the ball, and we just have to work on our recovery, that's all.
What can we expect from the South in the second half? Going to be making any quarterback changes?
Quarterback change, we're going to be Dorsey for the second quarter, and the quarter, and then we're going to try to flip coin about the fourth quarter, but nothing's changed. Stay to the basics, run the ball outside, do a lot of sweeping, and throw some short passing.
What about the field conditions out there? Is it posing a problem for your players?
It's okay. You get a C+ field position, but no problem with that. We just need to catch the ball, that's all.
All right, Coach Davis, thanks a lot. Good luck in the second half. All right, let's send it back to Rich and Brian for our halftime stats.
All right, thank you very much, Eric, and wish Coach Davis well here in the second half. We'll take a look now at the first half highlights, and 8:31 remaining in the first quarter. It's first and goal from the 4, and Dontrell Watson has the answer for the South, Rich.
Well, when you have the ball that close to the goal line, it's almost a no-brainer to go to someone like Watson. 220 pounds of power, bowls his way in for the opening score of the game.
2:38 remaining first quarter. It's third and goal from the 1, and Chad Maley takes it in on the quarterback sneak.
Well, he led this drive down with his arm, and he ran it in with his feet to finish off the drive and tie the game up.
1:43 remaining in the half. 1 yard run by Casey Moore, the 220-pounder out of St. Pete Catholic.
And with that touchdown, it seemed like Casey Moore gave his team the lead going into halftime, but Chad Maley had something to say about
this.
That.
This is the final play of the first half. It's first down and 15 from the 32. Maley gets popped by Jamonte Robinson. Dan Downs runs a perfect pattern and makes the catch.
What more can you say? A perfect throw, a perfect catch. Great way to end the first half.
14-14 after the PAT from Brian Black. Take a look at the statistics, and they're virtually even. No turnovers. This is a really well-played All-Star game. These teams really only practicing for a week.
Yeah, the important thing to note, obviously, is that the North running game to passing game and the South passing game to running game are virtually identical. You just flip-flop the two of them. I think we probably will see a disparate amount of running from the South County team and opposite for the North County team. I mean, they've shown that they can pass the ball. I don't see why the North County team would go against that, but as you heard Coach Davis say, we will see some changes, get some other faces in there. This is an all-star game, so we can expect to see some new guys in there, and you never know what's going to happen in the second half.
Indeed, you do not. The North will receive the kickoff. We'll take one more timeout. 14-14 your score at the half. We'll be back with second half action. You're watching the 4th annual Palms Pinellas All-Star Football Classic from Clearwater High. Getting set to start the second half of action here at Clearwater High School. Brian Onks, Rich Hollenberg, Eric Keaton back with you for the 4th annual Palms Pinellas All-Star Football Classic. Desmond Newton and Teef Austin, the two deep men awaiting the kick from Rashad Moulton. Another squibber coming off the side of the foot, goes out of bounds at the 30-yard line. That will be a penalty.
Moulton's kind of laughing that one off, Brian. We mentioned in the first half he was not used to kickoff duties during the regular season. Not quite sure why he's doing it now.
And in high school football, Rich, that will come out to the 35-yard line. 40 make it. Actually, I think they're going to make him kick it again, the way he's kicking. So they had a choice of taking the ball rolling out of bounds, a spot that's predetermined. I believe it's the 40 in high school football, or make him kick it again. They're going to march him back to the 35, and the way they're struggling with the kickoffs, they're going to make him do it one more time. Again, Tony Lazar is the punter and the place kicker, and he's shown a very strong legs on the extra point so far. So don't quite know why he's not kicking off. Rashad Moulton, I don't believe we saw him kick off when we did Lakewood games this year. He's volunteered to take one for the team, but...
And he's just having fun with it. You saw him laughing about it after the kickoff to start this second half. Won't be too funny, though, if it gets in the hands of Desmond Newton, and Newton turns it upfield for a big game.
Well, he and Austin are the twin safeties standing back now at their 20. See if Rashad booms one in the end zone this time. That's a good kick from Rashad Moulton. Justin, we were saying he couldn't kick off, kicks it all the way down to the 15 from the 35. This is Desmond Newton make that, and you talked about it, Rich. He's explosive. He brings it out across the 35. First and 10 for the North squad. From there, just into the second half of action, tied at 14. A well-played, exciting first half of action. Chad Maley still in the game at quarterback for the North, so they apparently are going to let him take most of the snaps.
Well, you mentioned that they have Brian Piccolo, Chris Piccolo rather, who was the leading passer in the county coming in, but he's mostly going to play defense this game. I guess they feel like they have a great thing going. Why change it?
Steve Austin takes the little counter action. He's going to get maybe a yard and a half, and that's it. 61, one of the first men in there for the South is Joel Rogers out of Admiral Farragut, 5'9", 190-pound defensive lineman.
Here's the handoff, a little trap play as Austin tries to get in between the tackles, but good penetration by the defensive line of the South County. Willie Hostin is the only other quarterback on the roster for the North team. He's number 10 out of Seminole. And I've seen him already on the field in some other positions defensively and on special teams, so perhaps we could see Mr. Maley for the entire game.
Yeah, Willie Hostin started at a free safety position for the North. There's a counter action to Brian Riley this time. Riley gets out across the 40, spot him up near the 41. It'll set up third down and about 4. Need to get just across the midfield stripe. Or 45 make that. Need to get just across the 45-yard line. A little difficult to read exactly where we are here with the rain we had. Rich, we had 8.2 inches of rain in the month of December, most of them in a 3-day period to end last week.
And you've heard most of the interviews that Eric's done on the sidelines. All the players and coaches have been referring to it. It's a little slippery out there, but you really can't tell from the quality of play. 14 all into the second half. Both teams playing very sound football.
Backs in the I formation are Butler and Austin. Behind Maley, the quarterback out of Eastlake. Play action Maley trying to get to the outside, trying to run him down, and Casey Moore will get there. Great job by Casey Moore. And you can see right there why Al Davis said he may be playing on Sundays. 220 pounds, runs the speedy Moore down from behind, fighting a block off in the process.
And that was a great play by Casey Moore, running sideline to sideline, using one hand to reach out and grab him, pulling him in, and with the other hand bringing him down. And you saw on the sidelines, that's Boca Ciega head coach Gene Gordon cheering him on, very animated head coach in Pinellas County. And I'm sure he would have loved to have a guy like Casey Moore on his Pirates team.
Carl Roberts, number 7, along with DeAndre Rubin, the deep man. Had a dead ball infraction before the play developed. DeAndre Rubin wearing number 16 out of Dixie Highlands. Roberts wearing number 7 out of St. Pete Catholic. And that's going to be enough for a first down. The infraction against the South.
Illegal substitution on the defense. 5-yard penalty, first down.
Illegal substitution, and that is not a call you like to see in an all-star game, Rich, especially when it moves the chains. But the North will take it. They'll have a first down out at their own 48.
And that delays the premiere of Robert Dorsey at quarterback. Al Davis said at halftime that he was going to put Dorsey in the third quarter and flip a coin to see who would play quarterback in the fourth quarter. And now Mr. Dorsey from Dixie Hollins will just have to wait his turn.
Jason Butler, Atif Austin, the backs behind Maley. This is Austin trying to find some running room. Nothing there. Great defensive play by Marion Pompey, number 76 out of Gibbs.
Now here's another one where Al Davis was just brimming at the mouth with all kinds of accolades for Marion Pompey. It's one of his own players, number 76 out of Gibbs, a 220-pound defensive end, but Coach Davis referred to him in the mold of one Lawrence Taylor, possibly the greatest linebacker ever to play the game. Marion Pompey certainly looking LT-esque on that type of play.
And they'll march it back with the penalty after the fine defensive play by Pompey. Holding the call from referee John Taylor, 10 yards from the spot of the infraction. That's going to be a major penalty. They lost 18 yards. It's first and 28 on the penalty and the fine play by Pompey. This time Maley will split the backs. They remain Butler and Austin. Wide receiver to either side, Dahlman and Frank Lang. Looking for Lang, and he slips as he made his cut. He was open. It was a well-thrown ball between the defense underneath the linebackers and defensive secondary, but Lang just fell when he made the cut.
Here's a little ISO on Frank Lang, who's had a great first half as well. He had 4 catches in the first half. We saw him slip one time as well in the first half on a long fade pattern. That time he tried to make the hard cut on the comeback and just couldn't get his feet under him.
You saw just when he slipped, the ball comes sailing right by. It was well thrown. Lang ran a good route, but lost the footing. Second down and 28 from their own 30 for the North. They need to get all the way down to the 42-yard line of the South to pick up the first down.
North County trying to maintain their win streak in this contest. They've won the last 2 All-Star Football Classics, trying to make it 3 tonight.
And they've come out a little bit sloppy here in the third quarter as we had a false start by a couple of offensive linemen. Marching back 5 more yards. Second down, 30.
Dead ball foul,
3.
false start, offense. 5-yard penalty, second down.
Not too many second and 33 plays in the playbook, but let's not count the team out. Remember, they scored on a 32-yard pass on the final play of the first half.
Let's see what kind of magic Maley could pull out of his hat this time.
Straight back to pass. Looking for the screen pass, has Latif Austin. Austin looking for some running room, trying to cut it back, and he'll be run down from the backside. Good team defense that time by the South. They ran to the football, made him cut it back into the help coming from the backside.
Well, here's Atif with his 3rd catch of the game, trying to make something out of nothing, but great pursuit coming all the way across the grain by the South County defense, and Casey Moore again in on the tackle. Penalties, Brian, of starting to take its toll on the North County team. 6 penalties for 45 yards so far in the contest.
We got another penalty on that play. It was a fairly well-played first half. There were no turnovers, a couple of penalties in that second quarter, but it's been flag day to start this third quarter. Third down and about 1.5 miles. The ball at the North's 22. They need to get to the 42 of the South. Split the backs, receiver to either side. Maley straight back, looking for the quick hitter. Knocked down at the line of scrimmage by number 60, Sam Tremblay out of Gibbs. Big Sam at 6'2", 255, playing at a defensive tackle position.
You know, Gibbs didn't win a game in its district all year. It went 1-9, but certainly had a good defense, and they are well represented in this game. And Sam Tremblay, 6'2", 255-pound defensive tackle, making his presence felt on the line.
Brian Black will punt for the North. Once again, Carl Roberts and DeAndre Rubin, the deep safeties, has trouble with the snap, gets it off. Fine athletic play by Black just to get the ball out of there. It's going to hit at the 40, roll dead at about the 44. That's a great play by Brian Black to cause disaster, to keep disaster from happening for that North squad. You see the soccer building there. Richie turned around and kind of kicked it soccer style and just got it out of there. Kind of a little bit dejected there, but that's a fine play by that young man out of Largo High School. South with excellent field position. Their first possession of the second half. The new quarterback is Robert Dorsey. Threw for 12 touchdowns this year, 546 yards on 42 completions. Gives the ball to the second man through, number 20, Antonio Newton. And Newton with good yardage on first down, moves it inside the 40. Will spot at the 38, and it'll be second down and 4.
Here's Newton, the big gun in the Boca Ciega offense this year. You know, Robert Dorsey's an interesting story. Came in having to fill the shoes of one of the great high school quarterbacks in recent years, in Marquell Blackwell out of Dixie Hollins. And Dorsey did a real fine job, got better every game, and Todd Wilson always said throughout the year he was making the best improvements throughout the year, and he ended up being a pretty darn good quarterback for them.
Yes, he did. Newton once again near first down yardage. Will have enough for the first down. Move the chains for the South. And at the end of the year, actually ended up playing wide receiver. They gave the young sophomore a chance to get some snaps at Dixie, and he did a great job there. He's really a wide receiver, but he's a good enough athlete to put up those kind of numbers in his first year at quarterback.
And also it shows that he he is a team player as well, willing to move to whatever position the coach needed him to do where he felt that the team would be most successful at, and they certainly were successful this year.
1st and 10 from the North 38 for the South. Dorsey gives the ball this time to Rashad Moulton, trying to bounce it outside, nowhere to go. That's a fine defensive play. Big number 75, the first man in there, Mike Maxey out of Seminole. His brother, he talked about, went to the Air Force Academy. The fine linebacker played in last year's game.
And also Mark Golden was in on the play. You see him popping up here, and he was the one that was the culprit on the face mask play. A little too aggressive from the South County.
So after moving them back with a fine defensive play, 15 yards will cost them another first down, and they'll move the ball all the way to the North's 20. So you mentioned minutes ago, Rich, penalties right now really hurting this North squad. 14-14, 7:19 and counting remaining in the third quarter. 4th annual Palms Pinellas All-Star Football Classic. Offset I formation. Moore and Newton, the running backs. Play action for Dorsey, firing it out to Casey Moore. Moore trying to turn it up, and Moore out for a 9-yard gain. Finally thrown down by Willie Hostin, the defensive back out of Seminole. But Moore showing his ability to get outfield, much like big number 40, like you talked about from the Buccaneers. Mike Allstott caught the ball like Allstott and turned it up, making a nice run.
They ran into a pair of Seminole defenders. Willie Hostin was in on play, as was his teammate during the regular season, Frank Wintrich.
Be impressed with Casey Moore on both sides of the football. He will get a break right here. Picked up 8. They're going to call it 2nd down and 2. Straight dive play on the right side. Fred Lauro, marker is down. Lauro with plenty of room for the first down. Ball comes out late, but they're going to say the ground caused the fumble. Let's see what the flag's all about. An illegal shift called against the South, so that will negate the first down run. And set up a 2nd down in about 8 situation.
Interesting that both teams have looking a little shaky as far as penalties are concerned. They played calm, cool, and collected in the first half. Maybe they feel like their season is that much closer to being over. They're a little jumpy to try and make a big play.
Well, a very long halftime here with the band and all the presentations. That may have something to do with the teams maybe getting out of sync a little bit. Dorsey keeps it on the option play, turns it up. Does not get the first down, but will be close. Let's go back down to the sidelines to Eric Keaton.
Hey, thanks, Brian and Rich. Casey, playing on both sides of the ball tonight. You got to tell us, which side do you like better? You like getting the hits or pumping it up the middle?
Right now, I think I like running offense more. I mean, I can dish out some hits on offense too. So, there's a lot to be said for that.
Now, I saw quite a list of universities, highly respected universities that you're looking to head to: Stanford, Princeton, Harvard. Anyone in particular you're looking at?
Yeah, I'm looking at all those right now. I mean, it's tough. They're all real good schools, and that's where I want to go. I want to go to a real good school, and but I also want to play Division I football if I can. So, I'll see what happens.
I know you're out of breath, but Coach Davis said you're going to be playing on Sunday. You should be out a lot of breath then on Sunday.
Well, I hope so. If it's in my future, I sure hope so.
All right, good luck. Second half. All right. Casey Moore, St. Pete Catholic, back upstairs.
Thank you very much, Eric. Man with a bright future. We're going to take a quick timeout. 14-14 your score. 5:44 remaining here in the third quarter. Brian Ux, Rich Hollenberg, Eric Keaton back with you at Clearwater High School. 5:44 remaining in the 4th annual Palms Pinellas All-Star Football Classic, remaining in the third quarter. We're tied at 14. The South squad moving the football with a 3rd down and 3. The ball at the North's 14-yard line. Dorsey with play action, looking for the throwback, has a man open, touchdown! That's big number 45, Eric Davis. The linebacker, defensive lineman in at a tight end position, sneaking open on the little drag pattern for the 14-yard touchdown.
What a turn of events. You have Joe Vaughn in the first half, really didn't get many pass plays off, let alone passes completed. And then you start the second half off. Robert Dorsey comes in, known more for his athletic ability than his passing ability, and he throws the South's first touchdown pass of the game to Eric Davis.
I believe that might be the first touchdown reception of the year in an All-Star game for Mr. Davis, known more for his linebacker play. Played some tailback at Pinellas Park. Lazar's kick is up, and it is through. One more to the tally. The South now leads it by the score of 21-14. You are watching the 4th annual Palms Pinellas All-Star Football Classic at Clearwater High School. Eric Davis with the 14-yard touchdown reception. Now on the kickoff team as Rashad Moulton kicks the ball off deep, picked up by Desmond Newton. Newton trying to find some running room, gets out across 30, takes a big hit. DeAndrew Rubin, Jamonte Robinson, both in there on that hit. Newton held onto the football somehow.
And the fans from St. Petersburg who are down here cheering on their Green Devil teammates certainly love that one. Watch this. Boom, right there. Jamonte Robinson. And I'll tell you what's really impressive about him, Brian. We've called his name on a few big hits tonight. Every single lick that he lays is very technically sound as well.
That's true. He gets in there, the helmet up, wraps the arms, doesn't miss when he gets an opportunity. He gets a lot of opportunities because he can run very well and he reads the plays well. This is Brian Riley, breaks the tackle, will not break the second one. Good tough running by Riley, but just nowhere to go as the South running 11 men to the football.
Well, let's credit number 64 for the South County defense, Raphael King, for slowing up Riley before the initial tackle was actually made. There's Eric Davis, who caught the 14-yard touchdown pass from Robert Dorsey, 44 yards, 7 plays, and now South County has itself a 7-point lead, 21-14.
South started the scoring in the first quarter with Dontrell Watson's 4-yard run to lead at 7-7. The North scored on the final play of the first half to tie it at 14. This is the second possession of this second half for the North squad. Chad Maley remains in at quarterback, 2nd down and 9, backs in the I formation, receiver to either side, play action, Maley rolling it this way. Looking underneath, and the ball off the fingertips. Ryan Swafford, his teammate from Eastlake High School, in the game now, the fullback position, could not quite haul that one in.
Ryan Swafford did a good job running the football this year. 129 carries, 576 yards, and scored 4 times. Also had the ability and has the ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. Built more like a tight end than a fullback, but they worked him into the offense as a fullback because they like to use the running game so much. And that time, his teammate Maley just overthrew him a tad.
3rd down and 9. Slot to the left, split the backs behind Maley. Quick drop. Looking for the quick hitter, almost intercepted. Jamonte Robinson had a touchdown. He knew it. He was looking to be in the end zone and could not haul it in.
Well, Jamonte Robinson would have basically just sewn up game MVP honors with 3:47 to go in the 3rd quarter if he had taken that one in for 6 points. He has been everywhere tonight, obviously showing the ability to stop the run. On that play, shows the ability to defend the pass as well, dropping off into the gap, knowing exactly where he should be at all times. Like we said earlier in the game, stays home, does all his homework, does a good job of showing the football instincts.
Nice punt from Brian Black after another poor snap. Fair catch called for by Carl Roberts. He'll haul it in at his own 33-yard line. The South will put it in play, 1st and 10 from there, leading it 21-14. Just under 3.5 minutes remaining here in the 3rd quarter.
I think the credit really goes to the South County defense right now. Chad Maley was 7 for 9 passing in the beginning of the game, and now he has not completed his last 5 passes. I don't think his performance has dropped off that much as the South County's defense has really stepped it up a notch.
You see some of the all-star cheerleaders on hand here this evening. 1st and 10 for the South, and we're going to have a dead ball infraction before the play gets started. Talking about the cheerleaders, Rich, Amber Giovanni out of Pinellas Park, the daughter of our own Jerry Giovanni. Works for us at Time Warner. Like to say hi to the Giovanni family. And we saw Paul Kitwood's son, Jason Kitwood, in the band. Paul Kitwood in the truck running our audio, doing a great job for us as always. His son in the All-Star band. So the extended Time Warner family represented here in the All-Star game this evening. First down and 15 for the South from their own 27-yard line. Backs are in the I formation. Robert Dorsey, the quarterback, tosses the ball back to Desmond, to Rashad Moulton make that. Rashad Moulton trying to get to the outside. He gets crunched. The North that time running to the football and putting a big hit on Moulton. And there's another guy that some of us know.
There's a younger member of the family there. I'd love to see a replay of that last play if we could, because that was almost comical what Rashad Moulton was trying to do. As we take a look at Tim Hoffman, always doing the great job way up top on the bucket truck. Rashad was trying to get away from his teammates, and he just ran into one. That's number 84, his teammate Jim Pollard. Pollard just couldn't get his block downfield far enough, and he ended up running right into his own tackle.
Second down and about 17. They're going to run the reverse. Going to go way deep with this reverse. This is DeAndre Rubin, and forget about it. Running him down, Tarek Jones, but it was a fine defensive play by one of his teammates, making him get a lot deeper.
That was number 66, John Saxon, out of Seminole, who really read this play fine. There you see 66 and 99. Usually when you mention those numbers, you're talking about Mario Lemieux and Wayne Gretzky. This time it's a couple of Seminole teammates, a 19-yard loss on the play. John Saxon making the tackle.
Good-looking athlete. Saxon, 6'5", 220. Tarek Jones, 6'3", 207. Both of them, as you can see, run pretty well and have good rangy bodies for defensive players.
And I stand corrected. Tariq Jones is from Osceola. Their helmets are both orange. They look very similar from up here. Both fine defensive players in their own right.
Those schools are minutes from each other, but they are backyard rivals. They've played some tough battles over the years. Osceola, of course, the home of Oscar Davenport, the quarterback up in North Carolina this year. Timeout called by the South. 21-14 is your score. 57 seconds remaining here in the third quarter. One of the all-star cheerleaders here performing this evening in front of a good crowd at Clearwater High School. Fortunately, the rains have subsided here on the west coast of Florida after the deluge last week. A little bit chilly as the sun's going down.
That's exactly what I was going to say. The rains brought in the cool weather, and it feels more like a football game tonight with the weather into the 50 degrees. And these parents and fans and teammates and schoolmates have all shown up in full force here at Jack White Stadium in Clearwater and are doing a great job of supporting this game. And like we said earlier, Brian, this game just gets better and better as each year passes, and hopefully it will continue to do so, because it brings about a great deal of recruiters into this game and just shows the positive outlook from Pinellas County as far as football and student athletes in general are concerned.
Well, I had the pleasure of emceeing the 4th annual banquet the other evening down at the USF campus, and I want to thank Paul Hicks and Sean Hinken from Palms Pasadena Hospitals. They're the ones that really put this together, do all the work year-round. They do a great job and really need to be commended for the effort they put in on behalf of this football game. There's the option play. Dorsey tossing the ball out there to Antonio Newton, and nothing there on third down and about 30. Desmond Newton was the man who made the tackle. That was actually Rashad Moulton who took the pitch. Or, excuse me, that was Antonio Newton. No, I got the Newtons mixed up. Desmond and Antonio. I'll get it corrected here. It's 4th down and still about 30 in a punting situation as Tony Lazaro on to punt for the South. Going back deep will be Desmond Newton from Largo for the North. He'll be standing right back at about the midfield stripe. Good snap. And a fine punt again by Lazaro. This one end over end. Fair catch called for by Newton. Fumbles the ball, and the South has recovered it. Tried to come up and make the fair catch, which is the proper play, Rich, but did not quite get there in time. And Fred Lauro out of Dixie, the man on the spot for the South to come up with the football.
There you see Newton calling the fair catch and stepping up just a bit too late. He was one step too slow on getting up and getting that ball. And Fred Lauro, as he's done all season long, Johnny on the spot, the Dixie Hollins Rebel, hustling down on special teams, pouncing on the ball near midfield to give the South County another chance.
That was the final play of the third quarter with the score of the South 21, the North 14. We'll take a timeout and be back with fourth quarter action. You're watching the 4th annual Palms Pinellas All-Star Football Classic from Clearwater High School. Back at Clearwater High School, Brian Unks, Rich Hollenberg, Eric Keaton back with you. Getting set for fourth quarter action. Hope you're enjoying the coverage of the 4th Annual Palms Pinellas All-Star Football Classic. Pitting the finest senior football players in Pinellas County against each other in a north-south matchup. Right now, the South leading at 21-14. Has a 1st and 10 from their own 46-yard line. Joe Vaughn back in at quarterback. Play action. Looking deep, has a man down there. David Green has it, and Green's going to be knocked out of bounds at the 23. So the Pinellas Park High School teammates hooking up on a big play on the first play here of the fourth quarter.
That's the second time these two have hooked up, and a nice play call by Al Davis and the South County coaches going right to the air, something they didn't do much of in the first half. It's really been a tale of two halves so far in this contest. Joe Vaughn, one of the better passers in Pinellas County, a 4-year starter for the Pinellas Park Patriots, kind of grew up within the program, and James Adams did a great job as head coach turning that team around this year, making the playoffs for the first time in a long time. Joe Vaughn, a major part of that.
And a fine ball adjustment by Dave Green to catch the ball for the big gain. 1st and 10 from the 23. Vaughn straight back again, looking for the quick hitter. Has DeAndre Rubin. Rubin dangerous to the outside, inside the 10. Finally run out of bounds at about the 6. That's a touchdown saving tackle over there by Desmond Newton. Let's go down to the sidelines to Eric Keaton.
All right, thanks a lot, Brian. I'm down on the field with some South County All-Star cheerleaders. This is a sport, too. I'm with Allison McGettigan and Karen Stans from St. Petersburg High School. Gals, what are your aspirations after the school season?
Well, Karen and I both plan to attend FSU. Both plan to attend FSU.
Now, I have a question for you. Is it the cheerleaders that fall in love with the football players, or is it the other way around?
It's definitely the football players that fall in love with the cheerleaders.
All right, let's...
The other way around.
All right, let's send it back upstairs. You heard it here first, Brian and Rich.
All right, thanks, guys. This is number 88, Dontrell Watson, in for the touchdown. 6-yard run straight up the gut on 1st and goal by Dontrell Watson. His second touchdown run of this contest. And the South now goes up by 2 scores, leading at 27-14.
Dontrell Watson, second man in, usually the fullback. This time he dotted the I in the I formation, came through, got a great hole, led by his teammate, number 70, Casey Loesch, on the offensive line. They cleared it out. He plowed it through, his second score of the game, and then we saw him do a little electric slide in the end zone, and that was originated by a Pinellas County veteran himself, Ernest Givens, who played right here in Lakewood.
Lakewood High School's turned out some great professional players. Pat Terrell, Tommy Carter, Mr. Floyd out there at San Francisco. Point is good by Lazara. 28-14 is your score. We're going to take a break. 13:44 remaining here in the fourth quarter.
And here's another look at the touchdown.
Back at Clearwater High School, Brian Unks, Rich Hollenberg, Eric Keaton back with you. You're watching the 4th Annual Palms Pinellas All-Star Football Classic. The South leading at 28-14. Rich, now time with 13:44 left here in the fourth quarter for the North to strike back. Desmond Newton takes the kickoff. Trying to bounce it to the outside. Got slowed down. And will be tackled right around the 20-yard line. Almost got that corner turn, but a fine play out there by the South to keep him from turning the corner to get more yardage.
Well, that's one of the areas where Desmond Newton has been outstanding this season. A great running back in his own right, but certainly special teams is where he's been most electrifying this season, and that's no new thing to the Largo Packers. Jim Casey, the head coach over there, had a fellow by the name of Kenji Cooper last year doing much of the same thing. Desmond Newton carrying on that great tradition for the Largo football team.
Always have those great skill position players at Largo, the electrifying players that can take it coast to coast on any play. 1st and 10 for the North from their own 21. Maley back in a quarterback, straight back under some pressure. Now we'll try to make something happen. Runs it straight up the middle and get out across the 25. Takes a big hit, but bounces right up as he picks up about 5 yards.
Well, I'll tell you, Maley, talk about some last-second escape artists. Chad Maley almost got his head taken off right there if he didn't go down on one knee. Dontrell Watson, the 6-yard touchdown run, his second of the game, gives the South County the first 2-touchdown lead in the game. It's been a back-and-forth affair for most of this contest. Now South County with a 2-touchdown lead, so it's up to Chad Maley and company to get back in a hurry.
The South will look to tie this series at 2 apiece. The North winning it the last 2 years after the South winning the inaugural contest. There's a first down pass out. This is Frank Lang, and Lang showing his explosiveness on that far sideline. Makes some great moves after the quick hitter and gets out near midfield, gets across midfield out to the South 45-yard line.
Frank Lang having a great night tonight so far. He obviously has clicked in practice, in the little practice that they've had with Eastlake quarterback Chad Maley. And Jamonte Robinson, we've talked about him all night long, chasing him down and making the tackle, knocking him out of bounds.
Well, they're getting the ball to the right man, Rich. If they want to get back in this contest, Frank Lang can make it happen. Straight dive play, right side, good yardage on that right side, picking up about 5 yards is Brian Riley. Actually make that number 32, Jason Butler, now in the game. Took that handoff and took it on the right side.
And that's the best way in a football game of telling if it's a little chilly out, is the players come off the sidelines and they've got steam coming off their heads. They're all heated up in this cool weather.
They're working hard. Riley checks back in. He's in at the fullback position. Atif Austin, the tailback, although they will split the backs behind Chad Maley. Receiver to either side, Lang and Dahlman. Straight dive, left side, Riley. Riley out near the first down marker and will apparently pick it up as he gets down to the 35 of the South. And the North now on the move, trying to get this back to within 1 touchdown.
Well, we mentioned it earlier in the game. They certainly have the workhorses to do it. They've got Brian Riley. They've got guys like Jared Dahlman, who hasn't seen much action come his way, but certainly they've got that game-breaking ability in the backfield.
They'll split the backs. Maley, the quarterback, straight dive, left side. Ryan Swafford, the ball carrier, number 30, doesn't get much. Picks up a yard at best.
The one time we saw Eastlake on our Game of the Week, Ryan Swafford had a very nice game, running for, if I recall, about 100 yards in that contest. And as I mentioned, he really is a converted type of a fullback. He wasn't used to running the ball that much, but did so well this season for the Eagles.
Not a big kid for a fullback, solid at 6 foot 185. Second down on the long 8, split the backs again. Maley straight back with time, looking over here towards Lang, makes a diving grab, and they're going to say no, that the ball hit the ground. The official right on the spot saying that he trapped the ball. So he tried to come back and make a play, but could not quite haul it in.
Maley putting a little extra mustard on that ball, but just underthrew his target by about a half a yard.
Big third down and 8 situation coming up for the North, trailing at 28-14, just under 10 minutes remaining. The ball at the South, 34. Maley with time. Now we'll try to turn it up. Going to direct traffic, and he's going to be over the line of scrimmage when he throws the ball. It's complete. The flag is down, though, and that will be an illegal forward pass. Thought if he would have been a little more decisive, Rich, he could have turned it up and run for the first down. Tried his best Brett Favre imitation, but went over the line of scrimmage.
Well, he's certainly getting a little comfortable directing traffic out there as he's on the run, but didn't really realize how far ahead of the line of scrimmage he was, unfortunately for Jared Dahlman, who had his first catch of the night.
That was a fine catch by Dahlman and a pretty good throw by Maley on the run. But it will be negated, and it will set up a third down at about 11.
Looks like there's a little confusion on the North County offensive side. Maley looking for a signal what play's coming in, and here it comes from Dan Downs, who is the recipient of that gorgeous pass catch in the end zone to end the first half.
Let's get down to the sideline to Eric Keaton with Dr. Howard Hinesley, Superintendent of Pinellas County Schools.
All right, thanks a lot, Brian. Dr. Hinesley, anybody out here impressing you the most out here?
Oh, I think both teams are evenly matched this year. I've been to all 4 games, and I think we've got some good competition. Seems like the South has got a little bit of an edge right now, but it's been a very good game.
Now, what about the other sports here in the Pinellas County? Any other sports that are offering this opportunity for the All-Stars to come out?
Yeah, well, the coaches provide an opportunity. Basketball, we have soccer, All-Star game, baseball. A lot of our sports have All-Star games, and most of them are operated by the coaches, which we very much appreciate. Gives a student athlete an opportunity as a senior to demonstrate their skills.
All right, thanks a lot, Dr. Hines. Let's go ahead and send it back upstairs.
All right, you saw the play right there. It was 4th down and 11. The long touchdown pass from Chad Maley to Lateef Austin, and the North Rich right back in this contest. Another fine play, clutch play from Chad Maley, and a nice grab by Austin.
And Austin showing that he could catch the ball out of the backfield. As good as a runner as he is, he's made his biggest impact running out of the backfield and catching the ball. Maley had time to throw, good protection by his offensive line, and for the first time in this game, he didn't make a big play without the rollout. He made a big play, staying put in the pocket, and delivered the ball pretty much on the money to Lateef Austin, who scored from 37 yards out.
Brian Black bangs the extra point through the uprights. Add one more to the tally. 28-21 is your score. That was a fine hold that time by Chad Maley as the snap came bouncing back. And the North now back to within 7 after the long touchdown pass from Chad Maley to Lateef Austin. And the North came out rich at the beginning of the third quarter and sputtered, but Maley got them back in it with another clutch play, much as he did on the last play of the first half.
And there's Lateef Austin, who caught that 37-yard touchdown, getting congratulated by his head coach, Sam Roper. Lateef showing the complete arsenal of skills. Had a few nice runs in the first half, as Coach Roper alluded to, and has really done the damage on the receiving end as well, coming out of the backfield and showing the ability to catch the ball.
Brian Black will kick. Deep men are Rashad Moulton and Antonio Newton. Nice kick from Black. Moulton lets it hit at the 10, and it will go out of bounds.
It's a smart play by Moulton. One of those plays that might go unnoticed, but with a lot of recruiters watching, it's important to note a heads-up play like that by Rashad Moulton. Took a bad bounce and was directed towards the sidelines. Moulton figured, hey, it's safer to just let it go out of bounds and have him re-kick it again. There's your scoring sum. 80 yards on 7 plays, took 4:01 off the clock, and number 1, Lateef Austin is number 1 for the moment. His team is back within 7 points after his 37-yard touchdown grab.
When we talked earlier about his versatility, he rushed for over 1,700 yards. There was a little concern about the number of times he fumbled. Could he hang on to the ball as a Division I football player? A lot of schools looking at him. He could play in the secondary, and as I said earlier in the game, he might be able to play wide receiver. Valuable athlete with a lot of skills. Great kick by Brian Black. They're going to run a reverse. This is Antonio Newton. Newton trying to get outside. Willie Hostin was right there, stayed home, as did a number of his North County teammates, and the South pinned back at their 12 after a tremendous kickoff by Brian Black, who kicked it from the 35 after the penalty and got it all the way down to the goal line.
And Antonio's a little bit upset because he felt like he could have had a bigger gain if he hadn't slipped, but I'm not so sure about that. It looked like Willie Hostin had pretty good sights on him. He had him in his crosshairs, and I think Hostin would have made the tackle regardless.
Well, Philip Mouzon was right there too, and we know he doesn't miss in the open field when he has an opportunity to make a hit either. Robert Dorsey in at quarterback. South of the 1st and 10 from their 12. Straight dive play. Casey Moore right side. Not a lot of room there. 88, David Zooks, the fine defensive end, tight end out of Eastlake, making the first hit for the North. Moore picks up a yard. It'll be 2nd down and 9.
Now it's really all on the North County defense. They've got the South County pin pretty far back, and you see the time on the clock ticking away, becoming more and more of a factor. And speaking of Moore, it might be up to Casey Moore to try and seal this game away for the North County, or for the South County rather.
Well, he's a guy you'd like to ride his back, get 3-4 yards at a crack, but on that last play, they only got a yard. Dorsey tosses the ball to Rashad Moulton. Moulton trying to get outside. Will be hitting the backfield and dumped for a loss back near the 8.
Tremendous pursuit by the North County defense. That was Philip Muzan, number 22, and you also had 64, Gerald Frazier from Osceola, both doing a great job of penetrating the backfield. And there you see, that was also 66, Jason Saxon. He's had a couple of big plays tonight. He's been all around the football, showing great speed for someone his size. 6'5", 220, the tallest player on the field, showing that he's got a wide range of athletic ability to show on this football game.
He's got that great body that the college recruiters are looking for, can add the weight, keep the speed. 3rd down and 13. Dorsey with his team back near their own goal line with a long count, rolling it out. Under some pressure, dumping it off, has his man Antonio Newton. Newton trying to make a move and will be taken down by Frank Lang. So Frank Lang getting it done on both sides of the football. Make that Rashad Moulton. No, that was Lang. I thought it was 21. I saw 22 pop up out of the pile.
There you see, that's Frank Lang, who's had a great night on the receiving end, and now he comes up and makes a big tackle, grabbing Antonio Newton around the ankles and not letting go. And now Lang will be back to receive this kick and try to get his team some good field position so they could tie this game up.
Lazara standing in his end zone will hit it near his own goal line. Lang standing back near midfield. Fine punt by Lazara. That's a big time punt right there. Lang takes it at his 48 and calls a fair catch. Tony Lazara kicking it from his goal line, kicks the ball in the air to the opposite 48. Big league punt by that young man right there, and that's why he rushed for almost 1,000 yards, but he's a fine place kicker and punter, Rich.
Well, when you see a punt like that, Tony Lazara, not to take anything away from him as a running back, but he certainly has a future in college football as a punter, and it's very rare that we talk about the quality of the kicking game in high school. Special teams oftentimes overlooked. That was a big league punt, and you could tell just by the way it went off, it left his foot, that Tony Lazara has got a future in the kicking game in the college ranks if he so chooses.
And he's being recruited as a punter by some big-time schools. Fine student out of Shorecrest Prep School in St. Petersburg. He's also a big-time soccer player, so he may have a decision to make there. And more of these fine kickers in Pinellas County are soccer players, as is Brian Blackett of Largo. Timeout called by the South. They lead at 28-21, but the North with the ball at their 48. 5:35 remaining, looking to go in for the equalizer.
And Brian, it bears mentioning there's 5:35 left, as you just said. With 4 minutes left, all the members of the media have to turn in their ballots for the offensive player of the game, the defensive player of the game, and the most valuable player of the game. That's 3 different awards. Not one player can win 2 of those awards. And right now, with a minute and a half to go before we have to enter our ballots, I'm not so sure who we're going to vote for. Certainly Chad Maley has had an outstanding game. Frank Lang. You can name off about 5 or 6 guys who are certainly in contention right now.
Well, Rich, I'm going to let you vote for me, then I can blame it on you. Because I have no clue right now who I'd vote for. As you mentioned, there have been a lot of stars in this football game. It's been a competitive game on both sides of the ball.
That is so diplomatic of you, Brian. Bailing out on me like that. We will each get an equal vote, I can assure you of that.
Do they have a photocopier up here?
Right.
2nd down at 4 after a 6-yard run on 1st down. The North moves the ball into South County territory. Straight dive, Brian Riley. Riley, the workhorse out of Clearwater Central Catholic, will be near the 1st down mark. He'll just be shy by about the length of the football. That will bring up 3rd and short. The ball at the 44 of the South.
3rd down 1.
Third and 1. Maley, the quarterback, backs in the I formation, gives the ball to Jason Butler. Butler stood up, but I think they're going to give him forward progress just enough to move the chains, but that was a tough foot against a very spirited South defense.
And one of the things that always happens in these all-star games, everyone's out having a great time for 3.5 quarters, and now you can see the intensity is just picking up a notch. Great play by number 70 there. That was Casey Loesch, who we mentioned before, playing both ways on offensive line and defensive line. He cleared the way for Dontrell Watson to score earlier. Now he makes a big tackle from the defensive line position, and they did not give it to him, so it will be 4th down.
Did give him just enough. It's 1st down and 10 from the 43. Loesch showing why we featured him in the pregame show. Outstanding football player. There's a pass out in the flat. Fine catch made. Turning it up for a 1st down is Dontrell. Make that Jason Butler. Jason Butler, the receiver out of Dunedin, number 32.
And you can see from that play right there, Butler gets tackled by Raphael King. Temper starting to flare a little bit. The intensity picking up. These players, as much as they want to play well individually, certainly do not want to lose this game. There's a lot of pride at stake between the North County and the South County when you have bragging rights for an entire year.
Indeed. Straight handoff. Riley is just crushed right at the line of scrimmage. Casey Loesch in there again, and he had a lot of help from his teammates. The big number 70, the defensive tackle, 6'3", 240, trying to take this game over at the line of scrimmage.
Loesch's line mate this year for the Green Devils, Juan Murillo, another 3-year starter, outstanding athlete, the starting goalkeeper for a St. Pete team that's won 3 straight district titles, and he should have been on this team. He's just 1 credit short of being an actual senior, and that's why he didn't make it.
Dahlman open, Maley looking for him in the end zone. Diving attempt just off the fingertips in the back of the end zone. Maley rolling to his left square at the shoulders. Dahlman tried to haul it in with the diving grab and could not quite get it. That would have been a great equalizer.
Maley looking that way the entire time, rolling out to his left, making the throw a little more difficult since he's a righty, but he certainly had it out there in position for Jared Dahlman to make the catch. Dahlman got it on his fingertips, but gave it 110% effort, just came up a bit short on the catch.
He had a great season at Countryside High School, primarily was a running back in his senior year. Maley on 3rd and 10, rolling it this way, has a man. Riley has the reception. Riley will have a 1st down inside the 20. They'll spot him at the 17. Another great clutch throw from Chad Maley and a fine over-the-shoulder grab by the senior running back out of Clearwater Central Catholic, Brian Riley.
Well, we've seen a couple of great plays by these CCC Marauders. First, it was Dan Downs making that spectacular touchdown grab. Now it's Brian Riley coming out and making a clutch 1st down play. He's been relatively quiet running the ball. The defense for the South County's done a good job of neutralizing him running the ball, but he still makes an impact catching the ball out of the backfield.
Dave Green checking in, the last-minute substitution for the South. South has too many football players on the field as DeAndre Rubin failed to go off. He did not know that Green was coming in for him, so that's going to be a 5-yard penalty against the South for too many men on the field as the play was stopped. So that'll be an unfortunate turn of events there for the South. With North now looking for the equalizer with 2:34 remaining in this contest, trailing it 28-21. Rubin comes immediately right back on the field. Now he's going back to the sideline. So some confusion on the South sideline. And let's give, it's an all-star game, Rich. We've talked about the players not having an opportunity really to get together and practice that much. The coaches the same way. You've got a bunch of different head coaches serving as assistants. Sometimes that can cause confusion because you haven't had a chance to work with each other. 5-yard penalty spots the ball down to the 12-yard line of the South. Backs are in the I formation. Maley with play action. Trying to buy some time, going to turn it up, and he slips and falls and loses a yard. Good defensive play, however, by Jamonte Robinson. Made him make a decision. When he tried to make the cut, he slipped, and Robinson was right there anyway to make the play for the South.
Well, Maley has had success tonight rolling out, and that time he just lost his footing, and as you said, one of the reasons he lost his footing was because Robinson was honing in on him. He had him in his crosshairs.
Derek Wright from Lakewood, number 75, the 215-pound defensive lineman, was also out there in the vicinity. Give him a loss of a couple. It's going to be 2nd down and a short 7, long 6. Maley tosses the ball back to Atif Austin. Austin trying to bounce it outside. Austin will be hit and driven back at the 13. Thought he might have had a hole off of left tackle that time, Rich, if he would have turned it up, but decided to bounce it outside instead. Did not quite get that corner turn. Timeout is called by the North. 1:28 remaining. It's going to be 3rd down coming up for the North.
Well, here you see Atif Austin just trying to string it out a little bit, but David Green, now you see some of the players who were only playing one way earlier, getting in on offense and getting in on defense a little more. Dave Green has a couple of big catches offensively, comes up and makes the the big play defensively for the South County defense.
Take a look now, and we'll thank our sponsors for really making this happen in this All-Star contest. There's a lot of them. We're going to roll it by on your screen. The major sponsors were Ditech, the St. Pete Times, Allen Sporting Goods, Gatorade, Bryn Allen Photography, Outback Steakhouse, Time Warner Communications, our 4th annual year of helping out with this event, Palms of Pasadena Hospital, Domino's Pizza, Coca-Cola of St. Petersburg, and you'll see the rest of them coming up right here on your screen. We'd like to thank all of the sponsors here this evening for allowing this to happen. Rich, and this game raises scholarship money for some of these athletes here in Pinellas County, and this year they've raised more money than ever. Again, I'd like to thank the committee, the Palms of Pasadena people who really got this game going, Paul Hicks, Sean Hicken, his assistant, and everybody on the committee who puts this game together. It's a thankless task, and they do an outstanding job.
Now it's crunch time. $1:28 left on the clock. Let's see what Chad Maley's got in store.
3rd down and 6. Backs in the I formation from the 14. Maley with a rollout with some time. Stepping up, has a man, and he throws it too far for Dahlman. Dahlman was open by a step again, and Maley just aired it out. That sailed on him. 4th down and 6, and they've got to go for it here. 3 does them absolutely no good with 1:22 remaining, trailing it by 7.
And let's give some credit to Carl Roberts, number 7. He was the one trying to cover Jared Dahlman on this play. Made Dahlman run out a little too wide, and even if he caught the ball, he wouldn't have had a chance to get into the end zone. Good defensive play by him. And Brian, in this All-Star game, if they do indeed tie it up, there would be no overtime. The game would end in a tie, so we'll have to see if they do score what they decide to do. Do you go for 2 or do you go for the tie?
Got to go for the win. You don't want to end up in a tie. Yarkey Miffin, 16, checks in. Jason Butler checks in. Dahlman and T. Austin check out for the North as those players brought the play in from Coach Sam Roper and his squad. Now timeout has been called by the North. Big play, obviously, on 4th down and a long 6, trailing it by 7, and they want to make sure they've got the right players and the right play in.
Well, they've shown that they have those players that could get into the end zone on any given play. Looks like Gene Gordon's running out to talk to the South players. He's the head coach of Boca Ciega High School. And now the North players look relatively calm in the huddle. There's a T. Austin, certainly one of your candidates for a player of the game, and certainly one of the guys you would think about getting the ball to in this situation. But when you look at that South County defense, what a job they've done all night. Jamonte Robinson, Casey Loesch as of late. Dave Green made a couple of big plays. Eric Davis, his teammate from Pinellas Park. That whole South County defense has played outstanding football the entire night.
And you have to look for 21, Frank Lang here. He's been the playmaker, but the South is going to try to take him out of the game, Rich, and make somebody else beat them. Frank Lang has been coming up with the big plays so far for the North to keep them in this game. Lang spreads out to the short side to the left. The receiver to the right side is Yarkey Miffin. Split the backs behind Maley on 4th down and 6. Maley straight back, looking, incomplete. Looking out for Lang. Pretty good coverage out there by his namesake out there, Dave Green. Lang frustrated, the ball never got there. The South has turned back the North, and now we'll just have to run the last 1:16 off the clock to come away with a 28-21 victory.
So close, but yet so far away. An outstanding night by Chad Maley, and it ends in frustration. 12 for 20, 227 yards passing, Brian. Certainly nothing to hang your head about, but Chad Maley, more than anything, wanted that touchdown right there to tie the game up and possibly have a chance to win it for the North County team.
Going to try to run right up the middle, run the clock out. You see the clock, timeout has been called, 28-21.
By myself, they can toss it down real fast. Want to tell me about the Brian Black.
Both these teams played an outstanding game. The second half a little bit sloppier than the first half, but nevertheless dramatic, coming down to the last minute and a half of play, and that's exactly what you want out of an all-star game. Everyone played well. There weren't any key mistakes by people that really cost their team the game in one way or the other. Everybody on this field tonight played and played well, and that's exactly what you want out of an all-star game. I'm sure the recruiters who came to this game are leaving with some very pleasant thoughts of Pinellas County High School football players.
Indeed they will. They've taken some great players out of this game the last 3 years, and they'll get some great ones this year. Seen a lot of individuals make tremendous plays on both sides of the football. He's going to down the football right now. Joe Vaughn let the clock run out inside of a minute. Let's go back to the sidelines. Derek Keaton.
All right, I just want to let you guys know that just moments ago, after the 4th down incomplete pass, Brian Black had the kicking tee in his hand, and he dejectedly just walked over and threw it down on the sidelines. Didn't get to kick the game-tying point. Back upstairs.
Well, I'm not sure Eric would have had an opportunity to do that, because I think they would have gone for 2. But Brian Black, thinking that they would have maybe tried to kick it to tie it, disappointed there. Brian Black's had a tremendous game kicking the ball, plays kicking and punting, and he has a future at the collegiate level as either a place kicker or a punter, Rich. He's going to have a choice, and possibly, I mean, that's a valuable man, because a lot of guys nowadays are just specialists, can't do both. He could do both and save a scholarship for a school. And that will be the final play of this 4th annual Palms Pinellas All-Star Football Classic. The South hanging on for a hard-fought 28-21 victory. They have now evened the series at 2 games apiece. Congratulations to all the All-Stars here this evening. The cheerleaders, the band members, the fine football players, Chad Maley right there and company from both sides. We'll take a break, be back with our post-game interviews. You're watching the 4th annual Palms Pinellas All-Star Football Classic from Clearwater High School.
Back at Clearwater High School, where the South County escapes with a 28-21 win and an exciting finish to the 4th annual Palms Pinellas All-Star Football Classic. Rich Hollenberg joined by victorious head coach Al Davis. A sweet win, a very good gameplay tonight.
Oh yeah, I think both teams played a good game. You know, we came out here, and I think the South team had a mission to do and to win a football game for the South, and we did that. You know, and don't take anything for the North, but hey, we playing over there. You know.
A lot of teams, a lot of time, people around here thought that you were going to come out and throw the ball a little more. You ran it, and you had some success running the ball. Did you have a game plan and you stuck to it, or you just went with what was working?
Well, my offense coordinator, Jane Alleman, he did a good job in calling the play. I said, Jane, you do what you want to do, and Coach Alleman did a good job. You know, he called the penalty apart, and so I just say, hey, go free with it. You know,
let the players play the game.
Oh no, you winning. You know.
Okay, Al Davis, congratulations on the win. The South County victorious coach. There were 3 MVPs named: an offensive player of the game, a defensive player of the game, and a game MVP. We have all 3 of them. First, the offensive MVP, Frank Lang. You came in, you had a great connection working with your quarterback, Chad Maley. Only a few days to practice. What was the key to you guys hooking up so much tonight?
Well, first of all, I give the credit to the offensive line. They give them time to throw the ball. And me and Chad, we've been working hard in practice, and we came out here and did a good job. For the
special feeling, even though you lost, being your last high school game?
Yeah. Well, I want to take my career out with a bang, and tonight I did, and it was good.
All right, congratulations on a great game. Frank Lang, the offensive MVP, catching a bunch of balls from Chad Maley. Your defensive MVP was from St. Pete High School, Jamonte Robinson. You laid a couple of big licks in this game. You were flying to the football, but that's nothing new. You were doing that all season.
That's just went out there and represented. You know, I had to do what I did all season, and if people got hurt, you know, that's my job.
You think you showed the recruiters a little something, one or 2 hits tonight?
I just came out there and did what I had to do. If they like it, well, you know, I talk to them.
All right, great way to end the season, and congratulations on making the playoffs this year as well.
Right.
Jamonte Robinson, your defensive player of the game, and one guy that knows that he was the defensive player of the game MVP, Chad Maley. Chad, that touchdown at the end of the first half, you took a pop from that guy. You played a tough game. I think that's what impressed a lot of people. You got hit, but you came up throwing every time.
Yeah, I mean, I was I dropped back. I saw him in my face, but I needed a 2-minute drill. Something had to happen. So Just hopefully came through with it.
It's obviously a little bittersweet. You would have liked to go out with a win, but still a heck of a fun game nonetheless, especially for someone like you who didn't get to throw the ball that much during the season. You got to show the recruiters what your arm was like.
Yeah, I mean, up at East, we're virtually a running team. It's nice to throw the ball every once in a while. And, I mean, I enjoyed this game, being able to show off my talents a little bit and being able to play with a little heart.
All right, Chad Maley in his final game as a high school player, the MVP of the Palms Pinellas All-Star Football Classic. I'll be joined by Brian Unks to wrap things up from Clearwater High School right after this.
Back at Clearwater High School, where the South hangs on to win an exciting 4th annual Palms Pinellas All-Star Classic by the score of 28-21. Brian Unks back here along with Rich Hollenberg. And Rich, when you were interviewing the most valuable players from both sides of the football and the most valuable player in the game, it was like a feeding frenzy behind you. The college scouts here were all over the place. They were taking phone numbers down. They were giving out cards. And really, that's what this game is all about. Yeah, and they had a lot to see this evening.
That's what you love to see. Guys like Chad Maley didn't get a chance to show his passing skills, as I talked to him about in the post-game interview, and he got to show it tonight. And I'm sure there are a lot of recruiters out here who might not have heard about him coming into this game. They heard about him after the game.
All right, let's take a look now at the highlights here in the second half of action. 14-14 was your score at the half, and a 14-yard touchdown pass from Robert Dorsey to Eric Davis makes it 21-14 right here with 5:30 left in the third quarter.
And again, it looked like this was going to be a replay of the first half, back and forth, north or south back on top, 21-14 after that score.
Then after a fumbled punt, the South takes it, and Dontrell Watson with his second touchdown run of the game.
Dontrell Watson had a good night tonight, got the carries when they needed him down near the goal line, and he made them count.
But the North would not give up. Most valuable player in the game, Chad Maley, with a 37-yard strike to a T. Austin, who makes a nice ball adjustment.
He had a 32-yarder to end the first half. That 37-yarder brought them within one touchdown and within striking distance.
But here is the final play for the North. They're going for it on 4th and 7. They need a touchdown to tie it. It comes up just short.
And it came up short to Frank Lang. That was Chad's favorite receiver on the night. Frank won Offensive Game MVP award honors, but came up short on the final play.
The statistics fairly even, and the one turnover was a big one, accounted for the game-winning touchdown.
It was. That turnover happened on a kick around midfield. The South County turned it into 7 points, and those 7 points proved to be the difference in the game.
It's been a great high school football season here in Pinellas County. This game capped it off in a remarkable way. We got to showcase the finest talent here. A lot of players that come out of this game in its 3-year history before this to get college scholarships. A lot more will get them after this evening's performance.
Absolutely. Some great performances turned in. T. Austin didn't win an award, but certainly had a great night. So did numerous other players, too many to mention. And the interesting thing to also mention is we were up there in the booth pontificating that Al Davis and his crew would, if they gave up the touchdown, that Sam Roper would go for 2 points and try to tie or take the lead and the win in this game. But we were informed after the game, Al Davis said, no, Sam Roper was going to go for the tie. That just shows the kind of sportsmanship that there is in this type of game.
Well, it did not have the opportunity. Final score, once again, the South holds on to win it 28-21. We're going to wrap things up right now from Clearwater High School. For my broadcast partners, Rich Hollenberg and Eric Keaton, my director, Ed Bacher, producer and technical director, Brian Syracuse, and everybody else here at Time Warner Communications, I'm Brian Unks. Thank you very much for joining us, and until next time, take care, everyone.